From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Hey, thank you. Good morning. Just about 6 minutes past the hour. Oh, boy, has a lot happened since the last time we were together. Judge Merchan went bananas in the courtroom. Boy, this guy, he is guilty of so many reversible errors. I really pray that it doesn't come to that, because if you get involved in any of that, that would mean that Trump was convicted, which is still possible, even though there's no crime. And if there was a crime, the prosecution has certainly not made the case beyond a reasonable doubt. But I will tell you, we finally found a crime in Judge Merchan's courtroom, and it was Michael Cohen admitting that he stole $30,000 from President Trump, which is a more serious crime than anything that Trump is fake charged with. What a despicable judge this Merchan is. He threw everybody out of the courtroom because he doesn't like Robert Costello. He can't tie Robert Costello's broken shoelaces. Costello is so much sharper than Merchan. And I think he tried to poison the well in the eyes of the jury with Merchan. And Merchan won't allow the Trump defense team to present an election law expert witness. But yet he allows a totally unrelated porn actress to say anything during this trial. This Merchan should be criminally charged. He really should be. He won't be, but he should be. Hey, look, I don't know the composition of this jury. We're not there. We know how many mistakes have been made, how bad it all is, and we're just going to have to wait and see. There is a motion. The Trump team made a motion to Merchan to dismiss the case, saying that the prosecution has not proven its case, which is absolutely true. But you know, Merchan will not do that. I think he has allowed, I know he has allowed the jury to hear countless times that Trump is guilty of election crimes. Well, he's not even charged with that. And he's not guilty of election crimes, period. But the judge has allowed that to be said again and again and again. And I think one time he may have instructed the jury to try to unhear what you're hearing. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck. And in bizarro world, of course, Joe Biden and the White House has sent their condolences to Iran over the death of President Raisi, the butcher of Tehran. You can't make this stuff up. And then somehow Amal Clooney is some kind of world superstar because she's convinced this International Criminal Court to back arrest warrants against Benjamin Netanyahu. Can you believe the world that we live in? And France is backing this. Oh, we've got a lot to talk with Kirk Conover coming up about 55 minutes from now. My goodness, this is crazy. It's all crazy. But yet it is all in keeping with bizarro world. Fani Willis is on the ballot today. Unfortunately, I predict she's going to win. Judge Scott McAfee is also on the ballot today. He faces two opponents. I don't know. I guess he'll win. I just don't have any feel for who he's running against or, what the mood with all of that is. So I would love to see both of them lose. I don't think that Fani Willis is going to lose. Maybe McAfee will lose. All right, as we do. I didn't do this as much as I wanted to yesterday. Each hour, I'm going to try to remember to do this. There is a gentle lady that I have known for 45 years. She has worked for the same employer for 45 years, which is amazing. And this is just in keeping with the times that we live in right now. Circumstances beyond her control. Where she lives is evidently being sold. And in a very short while, she literally will be homeless, which is unacceptable to me. So if anybody out there has a one-bedroom apartment, I don't do this very often, but I will vouch for this individual, and you'd have a wonderful tenant who doesn't want to leave where she's at right now, but has no choice. So get a hold of me, Harry Hurley at AOL.com. You can message me on the Facebook Messenger as well. It would be just awesome to help this individual find a one-bedroom apartment if you can help. And she's been doing everything she can for a period of time. And I ran into this individual over the weekend and found out about it. So see what you can do there. All right, as I try to do each and every day, I don't regurgitate the same thing every day. I try to give you new polling data every single day, and I have more. From the brothers McLaughlin, a majority want the prosecutions of President Trump to stop. Now, isn't it interesting that the Democrat media doesn't poll that question? This is the first time I've ever heard it polled. Additionally, in this particular poll, and again, they want Biden, Bragg, Colangelo, all of it to stop. The American people believe it's government inspired, which it is. And in that survey, Trump leads Biden 47-43. And remember, it's almost impossible now in America for a Republican to lead the national horse race, which means nothing. When you're running for president, it all comes down to electoral votes, not if you win California by 5 million more votes than your opponent. None of that matters. The reason it's tough, and this is why Biden's in really bad shape, for Trump to be leading Biden nationally, this means he overcomes, I would say, at least 4 million vote deficit in California, 2 to 3 million in New York State, and you could keep going in other Democrat states where the margin is very, very big. This is, of course, my favorite type of poll. It's a likely voter poll because I'm not a fan of polling unlikely voters. That never made a lot of sense to me at all. This poll is so good, it has a 95% confidence interval, they call it, which is accuracy. And the survey literally ended on the 15th of May. So it's really as close as you can get with as little lag as possible. And they didn't poll it for just one night. They did it over 6 nights. Let me take that back. 7 nights. All right, so here are some of the takeaways. 66% of all voters say that politics has played a role in the indictments of President Trump. The other 34%, you are either insane or you are liars. So congratulations to the liars. 59% of all voters say that Joe Biden has played a role in the indictments of President Trump. 53% of all voters think Joe Biden really wants to stop Donald Trump from winning by putting him in jail. Interesting to note, only 33%, and you know who you are. You're the liars, the losers, and the leakers. Only 33% say Biden doesn't want to put Trump in jail. After 4 years of Joe Biden, Americans know they're not better off. These are all findings. Most voters are angry, and the rest are worried. Donald Trump leads on the ballot, and the remaining undecided vote have largely decided they are not voting for Joe Biden. Now, that's good news for Trump. Some more takeaways. 68% of all voters say the country is on the wrong track. 80% of undecided voters say we're on the wrong track. How can you be undecided then? 57% of the voters disapprove of the job Joe Biden is doing as president. 81% among undecided voters disapprove of the job that Biden is doing. When asked from a lengthy list, what are the top issues? 43% said economic ones mattered the most. 23% say inflation was the number one single issue. And no surprise, on all the economic issues, America prefers Trump over Biden, 53% to 36%. Candidates for president usually win or lose based on job performance related to the economy. So this poll suggests that Biden is in deep trouble. I still have a bunch more. Let's get the break in. This is some of the best data that I have seen to date. More of this needs to be done. But, of course, the Democrat media doesn't want to do it because they want to trick you. They want to be like that Kristen Welker and ask Marco Rubio, will you accept the results of the election? These are sick people.
In a world full of fake news, AI, and unverified information on social media, where can you get the latest, most accurate South Jersey news? WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. Don't wait for the newspaper to come in the mail. The WPG Talk Radio app is updated around the clock from New Jersey's largest radio news team. Accurate, dependable, reliable. When you need to know, it's WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Fox News commentary.
I have maintained Joe will not be the Democrat nominee by November, and a new hint reinforces my theory. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Hi, I'm Ron Kraszewski, Chairman and CEO of Stifel. Financial advisors, let's face it, if you're not growing your practice, you're losing market share. Stifel is a growing, entrepreneurial, advisor-centric firm built for successful advisors like you. There's a reason why 148 financial advisors joined Stifel last year. Come join us and find out why Stifel is the firm where success meets success. Visit www.choosestifel.com.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Democrats will not take a risk with Joe or Kamala in November, but have finally got a lead as to how they will get Kamala out of the way. According to people familiar with the VP, she has joked about returning to California to run for governor if she and Joe don't win in November. Now, her office predictably denied this reporting, but nevertheless, this to me is a huge hint and a big clue as to how the Democrats will move Kamala out of the way for the current governor of California, Gavin Newsom. They've got to get Kamala to step aside by offering her something else that is more attainable, a consolation prize surprise that feels believable. And the governor of California could be that post. Sure, it's not the president, it's not the White House, but she doesn't have a shot at those anyway. I'm telling you, this might sound far-fetched, but not as far-fetched as trying to run failing Joe or Kamala in the fall. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
You're listening to Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
I'm looking for trustworthy news.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
And we're one of the only, last gasp stops for that kind of thing, because, man, are things just busted up, broken like never before. Let me continue with the McLaughlin brothers. Security issues, 21%. When you just pick, what percent of voters pick it as their most important issue, so it's way up there. Trump leads security cluster issue voters with an even bigger margin over Biden, 73% to 20%. Biden does lead among social issues, including Social Security, Medicare, climate change, whoopee, health care, abortion, race relations, and education. And it's really a shame. I'm not surprised at any of them, but the race relations, Biden is a disgrace on race. His speech before Morehouse College was an abomination. Let's keep going here. In spite of Biden administration propaganda, 50% of all voters say the economy is in recession. And voters are not optimistic. 64% say the economy is getting worse. Just 31% see the economy improving. A total of 85% of all voters say that they have been negatively impacted by inflation. Just under 50% say that they are struggling to keep up and afford basic necessities. This data may hurt Biden the most, since lower income voters are a key part of the Democrat base. Another 38% said they are not struggling, but that inflation and higher prices have had a significant impact on them. Only 15% of voters say that they can afford normal spending without cutting back. What a shame. And this is why Biden lies and says that he inherited 9% interest rate when he took office, when it was 1.4%. Who the voters blame for their economic woes is very clear. Only 38% say that Bidenomics has been good for the economy. How can it even be that high? The majority, 54%, say that Bidenomics has been bad for the economy, inflation, and the cost of living. Among undecideds, 64% say that Bidenomics has been bad for the economy. This data is at the heart of Biden's woes. 53% of independents and 23% of Democrats agree that Bidenomics is bad. That's just 23% of Democrats. Shame on you. Most Hispanics, 47%, and 27% of African Americans say that Bidenomics is bad. And the stunner, 55% of women are more likely to say Bidenomics is bad, even more than men, who are at 53%. When asked what better describes President Biden's economic policies, only 3 in 10 voters say free market capitalism, and that's because you lie. Almost half of the voters, 48%, say that Biden's policies are big government socialism, and that number should be way higher than that. With these troubling national issues, it's not a surprise that by a margin of 54% to 36%, the voters say that Biden should stop targeting President Trump with legal persecutions and interfering in the election. Instead, they want Biden to let the voters decide the next president as our democracy provides. Very, very interesting. But I continue. That's McLaughlin Brothers. Let's go to a Democrat poll. Harvard poll. Oh, no. Harvard-Harris Democrat poll. Trump leads Biden 49 to 43. When you put undecideds into it, it gets even better. Trump 54 and Biden 46. A 3-point increase from April. When leaners are included, Trump garners the support of 95% of GOP voters, while Biden has 90% of Democrats. That's not good. 1 in 10 Democrats are breaking for Trump. Only 1 in 20 Republicans are breaking for Biden. Other survey findings: 69% have made up their minds on who they will vote for. 31% are still weighing the choices. 46% said Biden is mentally fit, which is sick. 54% say they have doubts. 49% say Biden is getting worse as president. 79% want Biden and Trump to debate each other. 63% say the debates will provide valuable information. 63% say Biden's public lapses are more frequent these days. 59% say questions about a president's age, memory, or lapsed concentration are dangerous. The poll's margin of error, 2 percentage points. And I have a little bit more on that Harvard-Harris when we come back. It involves Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Hey, thank you, Harry Hurley. 3 stories that you can follow on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. Crime allegations lead to low morale at Atlantic City Public Schools. Check that out. The prosecutor of Atlantic County, Will Reynolds, was called a racist by the Atlantic City NAACP, but then a month later, he receives an award from the Atlantic City NAACP. Pretty sick. Atlantic City refuses to act, so the state of New Jersey...
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Today's weather will look very similar to yesterday's as temperatures tick a few degrees warmer. Early fog, then lots of sunshine. We'll stay completely dry today. High temperature around 78. We'll see 80s inland today. Partly cloudy tonight, low 61. Very warm and humid tomorrow, high 82 with mostly sunny skies. And there is a chance of an evening thunderstorm tomorrow as well. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Enable our skill and tell your smart speaker, play WPG. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Brigantine. Mays Landing. EHT.
Ocean City.
WPG, Talk Radio 95.5. South Jersey's talk station.
Hey, thank you. Hurley in the morning at 34 minutes past the hour. This portion of our program brought to us in part by Ambient Comfort Heating and Cooling Professionals. And right now they are doing a great inspection. If you're a new client, $59, which is amazing. You can get your air conditioning system checked right now and the temperature is starting to move up. Will be, I think, like 83 degrees in the next 24 hours or so. And everything has gone up in price just about, but Ambient Comfort's tune-up special is the same affordable price, just $59 for new customers. And it's well worth it. And do it now, not when you're sweaty and miserable, because the best time to get repairs done, it just tends to be easier, is the earlier the better. Their certified technicians will perform a thorough precision tune-up on your system to make sure it's safe and running at maximum efficiency, prepared to get you through the summer heat. You can schedule an appointment one of two ways: digitally at ambientcomfortnj.com. That's ambientcomfortnj.com, and choose who I choose, Ambient Comfort. Or you can call 609-568-0955. That's 609-568-0955 for your $59 air conditioner tune-up for new customers. Tell Ambient Comfort that Hurley in the Morning sent you. All right, this doesn't surprise me at all, because I just pretty much, other than people that are totally in the tank and dishonest, I just believe that people generally are fair, want to be fair. I'm not talking about the bad ones. So in the same Harvard-Harris poll, and this might be a different poll because the other one was Harvard-Harris. This one might have another outfit involved in it as well. But anyhow, it's basically the same people. The poll found that 73% of voters say Trump and Biden should agree to 3 presidential debates and 1 vice presidential debate. Here's another one for you. 71% of voters said the debates, and this is registered voters, of course, it's never likely voters. 71% of voters said that the debates should include third-party candidates if they clear a viable threshold, and Kennedy is listed as one of those candidates. Nearly 2/3 of voters said the debate will provide valuable information on who they should vote for, while 37% said it was unlikely to do so. Of those polled, 54% said microphones should be automatically cut off when a speaker's time elapses. See the things that are important to the Democrat media? And guess what? I still have, this is Polling Palooza Day. I still have more. This is an Ipsos poll. Reuters and Ipsos. 56% support deporting all illegal immigrants. Gotta say, I'm in the crowd. They gotta go. Sorry. And I know there are some really nice people, but we don't know the difference between the good guys and the bad guys. You gotta go. Isn't that great that actually a comfortable majority? Let me tell you something. If you could get 56% of Americans to support you and to support the issues that you support, you'd be in like Flynn. 36% support detention camps for illegal immigrants. I don't like that stuff, but what you probably would have to do something like a clearinghouse of some sort. 54% oppose detention camps. I don't like that. But I know why they get that number. There's just a very bad optic and history about detention camps. Republicans were far more likely to support deporting all or most illegal immigrants than Democrats or independent voters. What a surprise. 85% of Republicans support deporting all or most illegal immigrants. Get ready for this. 61% of Democrats support deporting all or most illegal immigrants. And I don't understand this one. 35% of independents support deporting all or most illegal immigrants. I don't even know who they're defining as an independent. That number, I don't believe that number. Republicans were also far more likely to agree with a statement asking if illegal immigrants should be arrested and placed in detention camps while they await a deportation hearing. 62% of Republicans said yes. 12% of Democrats said yes. 35% of independents said yes. This was 3,208 registered voters nationwide. Margin of error, 2 percentage points. When we come back, I'll give you an update on Michael Cohen, who, as I see it, is the only person that's really guilty of a crime at the Trump trial. Ironic, isn't it? We'll be back.
Wake up weekday mornings with Hurley in the Morning.
This is the stuff we need to talk about.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
We live in a society where everybody is offended.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. South Jersey's talk station.
Michael Cohen admitted in court under oath that he, quote, stole from the Trump organization. His answer was, yes, sir. So he did polling. Speaking about polling, he billed President Trump $50,000, but he paid the firm, the technology firm, just $20,000, and he pocketed the $30,000. So the attorney, Blanche, said, quote, so you stole from the Trump organization, quote unquote. Question. Answer, Cohen replied, quote, yes, sir. Cohen said he never paid the Trump organization back. Cohen has never been charged with stealing from Trump's company, but they knew he stole, though. This is the game. They get to pick. They go after people that aren't criminals, and then they go easy on the ones that are criminals. Just terrible what this all has become. Cohen was the last prosecution witness, and he was a disaster. You know what was crazy? I think it was Lawrence O'Donnell. Lawrence O'Donnell took the position. Michael Cohen, I forget the term. They actually have a term for it, and it was twisted as hell. But again, because that's what Democrats do, they pick words that can soften what somebody they want to rehabilitate, help. God, I wish I could think of the term. It's terrible. But they basically defend Cohen for stealing from Trump, by saying that he was taking back his bonus. Defending it. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? 5 weeks of testimony about sex and all kinds of stuff tabloid crap. You've got this attorney Cohen that taped his own client. What a lowlife. Dirty as it gets. And we'll have to wait and see. This was good news. For the month of April, President Trump and the GOP raised $76 million. Joe Biden and the Democrats raised $51 million. And I guess you're not going to hear a lot about that because it just doesn't fit the narrative. That narrative has to be Biden good, Trump bad, Biden's winning, Trump's losing. But yet, what is so encouraging to me, and I just shared it with you for much of this hour, the American people, there is now an ability. The American people always had the capacity, but if you just get inundated, it's like I am concerned about the Trump jury because jurors are usually close with the judge, and this judge has been incredibly supportive to the prosecution, very, very dirty with the defense, and you just have to wonder. And all these times he's let that Trump did this crime and Trump did that crime, and there are no crimes. But we don't know how they are perceiving all this. This portion of the Hurley in the Morning program brought to us in part by Batteries Plus in Northfield and in Mount Laurel. They're one of our WPG industry aces. If you have a car, a truck, marine, RV, camper, golf cart, ATV, mobility scooter, or motorcycle battery, and you need one, Batteries Plus, they've got them all. Sidebar. It's not that I love the name brag. You know, that Biden, big deal of his administration is getting rid of all the Confederate names. I liked Fort Bragg. Fort Liberty, I mean, liberty's great, the word, but this is, again, what these liberal socialists are doing in our country. My friend Brian Kilmeade's at Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg. I just wanted to comment about that. But in terms of my friends at Batteries Plus, and stop in, say hello to Roy, say hello to everybody. They're wonderful to work with. If you need to get ready for the storm season, if you need LED, if you need emergency lighting, a portable generator, or surge protector, Batteries Plus has them all. If you have a broken phone or a broken tablet screen, they can fix it at Batteries Plus. Cell phone battery need replacement? They've got you covered. Watch and key fob batteries, get a replacement on all these things while you wait. If it's broken, bring it to Batteries Plus and they'll fix it. Cracked screens, battery replacements, the charge ports, speakers, microphones, pretty much anything that's inside a phone they can fix. Batteries Plus, and they fix it. 900 Tilton Road in Northfield, Route 73 in Mount Laurel. Stop in to one of their locations, and you can enter to win a pair of tickets to see Journey and Def Leppard. God, I just had something sent to me by Fox, and it was there for a moment, but I was very focused on sharing with you the latest at our friends next door at Batteries Plus that I really didn't get a chance to read it, but I did see it enough to comment that Fox News just sent me an alert, and it had something to do with Boeing again. How did this company go from such a favorable brand name to what it is now? And it's weird. It was there and it disappeared. So I can't see exactly what it was about. But I know. Let me go to this. Hold on. There it is. Boeing jet passenger dead after Singapore Airlines flight hits severe turbulence. I'm telling you, Boeing, you talk about just snake bitten every time they turn around. Hey, see what you think of this one. You know what I'm going to think of it. You don't even have to ask what I think of this. AMC, you know, the movie channel, whatever it's called, American Movie Classics or something. AMC, they have slapped a trigger warning on the movie Goodfellas because they've concluded that the theme and some of the stereotypes and this and that, you need to be protected from this. Now, let me tell you something. I absolutely love the movie. A friend of mine a long time ago, we used to go back and forth. I did this with a couple of different people, come to think of it. We would go back and forth and just quote different lines from the movie. Now it gets, can you imagine? But I don't watch that way anyhow. I have a movie collection. I don't want any of the stuff. Like some of the people that do like a little narrative before the movie begins are pretty good and don't have a woke agenda. I don't ever want to watch a movie that begins with some trigger warning. Never, ever. You know, we've been calling for President Trump to be the shadow president right now. And you never heard me say anything like that in my entire career. The reason I say it is simple. We don't really have a president right now. There's a man in name only that is deeply, deeply affected by his current circumstances, whatever they might be. Notice, I know something's wrong, but I'd never, said diagnose because I'm not qualified to do that. But I'm extremely qualified to say, hey, look at that. That's not right. And you are too. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you're not allowed to see what you see and hear what you hear. Oh, you're not a doctor. I never said I was. But I know the guy goes up the little baby steps, and I know he falls a lot, and I know he shuffles, and I know he says a lot of crazy stuff. Let me give you the latest example. And the media, they're going to cover for him like you can't believe. Yesterday, Joe Biden, or the day before at a recent speech, he said that Barack Obama sent him to talk to people about the pandemic. Now, he's referring to because he said when I was vice president. Well, there wasn't a pandemic. But he is in really bad shape. This is why I say Trump should be the shadow president. I know he's holding off naming his VP, it seems, until maybe right at the Republican National Convention. I wouldn't do that. I would name it much sooner than that. I mean, it's going to be July before you know it. It's days, 12 days, 11 days, whatever's left before it's June. So it's not that long a wait, but I would get it out there sooner. Look, if you don't know yet, take the time you need. But once you know, get it out there and get that person campaigning. and get your team together. And this is a positive. Donald Trump foreign policy advisors met with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and others. There was somebody in the opposition even there that was a part of it. You had Robert O'Brien. He served as Trump's fourth and final national security advisor. You had the former ambassador to the United Arab Emirates, John Rakolta. And you had the former ambassador to Switzerland, Ed McMullen. They met with Netanyahu and other public figures in Israel. Good. Good. Do more of that. Because this Biden is scary. And then what you're going to do is you're going to get him, meaning Biden, forced to do more mainstream things. Like he's been all over the place on Israel, but he did not support, and you can't support, what they call the ICC, the International Criminal Court. It's absurd. I mean, they and France is backing this. They want to issue arrest warrants to Benjamin Netanyahu and others. That is just crazy. And one other heartbreaking thing, and I hope something stops this from happening. Graceland, Elvis's home, Graceland. I don't even know how this happened. I kind of do, though, because Priscilla wasn't in charge. The granddaughter is now, which is a disgrace. But Graceland is set to be auctioned this Thursday amid foreclosure. How could anybody let that happen? If some stranger were to get ownership of Graceland, that would be absolutely terrible. Kirk Conover joins the program next. A lot to talk about.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Hey, thank you. It's 5 minutes past the hour. Thanks for waking up early in the morning. Kirk Conover is here. I want to begin on the New York v. Trump, because this could be the last day of testimony. Then you would basically just have the closing summation of the prosecution's case, closing summation from the defense, jury instruction from this, I want to say crooked, but I'll just say allegedly just awful, terrible judge. And you just have to understand, I don't think he's a good judge, period, but all this favoritism one way, this is not an accident. I mean, this guy has been awful to the defense, and he has given every break that you can, including, and finally, Robert Costello had enough of it yesterday. See, there's a thing you can do in court. You just keep objecting, object, and the jury never really gets to hear the witness correctly because it's just too disjointed. And Costello just went, geez, and Mershon didn't like it. I think I have some of the exact quotes from Mershon. He's very, very sensitive little man. Let's see if I have this here. If not, I'll find it during the break, and I'll come back with it a little bit later in the hour. One of the things I know, let's see, hold on a sec here. I don't know why I have all these quotes from Amal Clooney. I think her name stinks. Amal Clooney who thinks she is some kind of world czarina or something. Let's see. Wow. I don't understand it. I know I have Mershon's quotes somewhere in this H-phone, but for the life of me, I can't find them. But very, very sensitive. Oh, I know what it is. Hold on. Give me a second. Nope. Huh. Oh, yeah. I knew I had him. Jeez. Here we go. This is him talking to Costello. Quote, "You don't give me a side eye and you don't roll your eyes when there's a witness on the stand. If you don't like my ruling, you don't say, geez. You don't say, strike it." Further, he said, quote, "Are you staring me down?" And then he cleared the courtroom. And, that makes the witness look like the witness misbehaved and, did bad things and stuff like that. Not right. Kirk, this trial, each and every time you and I get together, it has just gotten worse and worse and worse. It almost seems to me, now that I think about it, that Mershon, if you've ever watched the movie The Verdict with Paul Newman and James Mason, and the judge is completely corrupt, absolutely in the tank for the in that case for the defendant, not the plaintiff, which was a I want to say like a church or something like that, that was the defendant, something that was done wrong. This Mershon, Kirk, has just gotten worse and worse. Like he knows that he's losing, meaning the prosecution, because he's not a neutral guy. He's been on the prosecution team the whole time. I really believe and this would only have to go to appeal if Trump loses, which would be a travesty if he does. But this Mershon, not only is he reversible, he's made so many what they call reversible errors, but I believe he's been absolutely corrupt. Your thoughts?
Well, this is clearly a show trial fitting for the Soviet Union. The Soviets were much more efficient with their show trials. And this, basically, the longer it goes, the more obvious it is to the American people that this is a travesty, it's an injustice, and it's clear that it's designed to keep President Trump off the campaign trail. And also, if they do get some kind of conviction, then they can run around and Democrats can run around and say he's a convicted this or that. So, yeah, it's a show trial. And I just think that as it's gone on, that I think the jury has to see that this is ridiculous. Their star witness has no credibility, that Michael Cohen. And Costello, even though he was scolded by the judge, he pretty much blew up the prosecution's case.
Oh, he destroyed it. I mean, and Cohen. I mean, he told the jury that Cohen told him that Trump didn't know. So if that's not reasonable doubt, I don't know what is. But here's what we don't know. We don't know if this is a runaway jury, my homage to the great movie with Gene Hackman and John Cusack. Also Rachel Weisz. Leave that to it's not Weiss, it's Weisz. Leave that to your trained broadcasting specialist. So you never know. You have the two attorneys on there. Are they good attorneys? Are they lib bad guys? So we really don't know, Kirk. Also, the jury has heard countless times that President Trump is guilty of election crimes when he's never even been charged with an election crime. He's not guilty of anything. The judge has allowed that to be said again and again and again. And evidently one time he told the jury basically to try to unhear what you heard there, that's not right. But we know what's going on here. I'm leaning towards hung jury. It should be flat out acquittal, but how do you get 12 people in a place that's like 90-some% adverse to Trump to go with Trump? How's that happen, Kirk?
It would happen in a just courtroom. It would happen in most places in the country, but you're right. There's a risk there. And, even if they get a hung jury, then, of course, that gives everybody the opportunity to say, well, he wasn't found innocent. He wasn't acquitted. And it also gives Bragg, the opportunity to bring it all again. So that's a very good point. I'm not so much moved by if it's a hung jury that they'll do that, but I don't think that dog hunts. But yes, Bragg could easily say, and he would do it immediately, that we are retrying this case. Do you think they would move to try it still prior to the election? Of course.
Yes.
It gives them more talking points. Yep.
Yes. I knew the answer. I wanted to hear you say it. Yes. That would just tie up. Now, look, it's one thing right now. You've tied Trump up for 5 weeks. If this is a hung jury and they immediately, because you do have to start all over again. You just can't have another trial. You'd have to take it, back to the beginning. But could you imagine if they took Trump out for another couple of months?
That's obviously their strategy because they really don't have any type of a criminal case. I mean, every legal scholar that I see on television or here on radio, they just say there is no crime here. There's no case. This is ridiculous. So, yeah,
he still doesn't know what he's charged with, Kirk. I mean, how does a judge allow a case to begin? I've never heard of anything other than the beginning of a trial. These are the charges, and we are going to prove that so-and-so did this and that. Nothing. When we come back, Kirk, if there's anything more on that you want to talk about, the time is yours. I also want to get your comment next when we move to another topic, and you'll decide when we come back. If you're not done with this one, continue. If you are done, then my question to you is this. I watched some of it. Joe Biden's speech before Morehouse College was one of the most disgusting, disgraceful, and divisive speeches. And, of course, he was yelling like he always does, like a crazy man. And I just thought it was terrible. And he should be roundly criticized for it. We'll get your take on that next and a whole lot more straight ahead with Kirk Conover. It is the Hurley in the Morning program.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning.
It's a refreshing drive to work in the morning.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Your morning espresso starts right here. It's the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
Even David Axelrod is right. You look at this Biden economy, he points out what an insane mistake it is that could result in his defeat if he keeps pushing this lie that is at odds with the reality that the American people are living, that their money is worth about $12,000 less than when Donald Trump was president. He says, I don't understand. They spent all this money pushing Bidenomics and touting Bidenomics, and it's not resonating. What part of this are you not understanding? And then rightly points out that on the issue and the handling of the economy, Americans by larger and larger numbers trust Donald Trump over Joe Biden.
The Sean Hannity Show from coast to coast later today.
War, inflation, and recession. Did you know that experts call gold the everything hedge? Gold goes far beyond hedging against inflation or the stock market. It can potentially even guard you against today's wars in Ukraine and the Middle East. Not to mention the great economic danger of a recession coming, which is what we're all worried about. And that's why gold just hit another record high. And central banks, they just keep buying gold at a record pace. It's Linda here. Join me and thousands of people who have called Goldco the #1 rated gold company. It's time you diversify your money with time-tested safe haven assets, physical, gold, and silver. Today, Goldco is offering our listeners up to 8 years in free IRA fees plus up to 8% in bonus silver with a qualified account. Call 855-815-GOLD for free IRA fees, free bonus silver, and a free gold and silver info kit. What are you waiting for? Call 855-815-GOLD. That's 855-815-GOLD. Do it today. You can't wait.
Hurley in the Morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
It's a source I can trust.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Wow, I just saw the New York Post cover flash before my eyes, and there was even more, but it was only there for a quick, just not even a couple of seconds, but it said Michael Cohen, con, liar, thief. Wow. Yeah, that's you can say all those things. There's no doubt about that. So, Kirk, if you're not done on the time is yours. If you are done with the other topic, the next topic is President Biden. Look, we know what's going on. He is hemorrhaging African-American loss of support, and he is doing one of the filthiest, dirtiest things you can ever do. He is jacking up divisive race talk to try to get back African-American support that he's lost. It's extremely disgraceful, very unbecoming.
Yeah, that Morehouse College commencement address was Dark Brandon in full view. He was angry, he was divisive, and he was discouraging and insulting to the students. And it's such a contrast. We attended our granddaughter's graduation from Atlantic Cape Community College, and every speaker was charging them to, go out, be successful, work hard, lift themselves up. Whatever obstacles are in your way, you can conquer them. It was uplifting stuff. I mean, the main speaker was the head of New Jersey higher education, and he talked about how he grew up in the South in abject poverty and what he experienced, and he was determined to overcome it and be successful. He's got 2 PhDs, and that's the kind of commencement address that ought to be on the table. But this was a straight campaign speech. It was attacking basically Republicans and calling
he was also calling the country horrible things. It was just terrible.
He was condemning these. What the message really was, he was condemning these students to a life where they're going to be subjected to horrible systemic racism their whole life, and they're victims, and the society's against them. It's terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
I know.
Out of place, out of touch.
He's so desperate. But you know what they're doing? I mean, they're loading up his teleprompter, and he reads it. He reads it very poorly. Did you catch yesterday, Kirk, that Biden, again, so he had to have gone off the teleprompter because I'm sure the great teleprompter of the United States of America didn't have this inside it. All of a sudden, he started talking about how when he was vice president, Barack Obama sent him to go see people and talk to them about the pandemic. Now, of course, there was no pandemic. He is just a mixed up, feeble, old, decrepit, declining, scary guy.
Yep, and it's obviously he has dementia, and he's just a puppet. A weekend at Bernie's, and that gives you an indication. He also, remember, he tells that story about the train conductor.
Yeah, that's already been debunked. Every which way,
and he keeps telling it.
Yeah. And well, he also keeps saying that when he became president, that inflation was 9%.
It's absolutely terrible. The real, inflation rate when he became president was 1.4%. The unemployment was below 4%. The economy was growing at 4.5%. He inherited a totally functional, recovering, healthy economy.
He did, and it took him a year and a half, and he took it to 9.1% inflation.
Yeah, and that reckless, government spending is still there's still about $2 trillion of it sloshing around out there, and you see the inflation measurements clicking up slightly every month. Producer price index went up higher than expected. The CPI went up higher than expected. The personal consumption index, expenditure index that the Fed uses went up higher than expected. And that's because the money's still sloshing around out there. And the other fabrication that the Democrats throw out there is that the stock market's at an all-time high. Well, numerically, it is.
But remember, he used to trash that. This is how hypocritical they are. That's something they never would say before, but it's all they've got.
And, there's a lot of speculation as to, why it is. Is it earnings? Is it real economic growth? Is it this, that, and the other thing? Are they looking forward to Trump being president? I did a deep dive over the weekend. A place called macrotrends.net. They do big, deep investigation into economic matters to try to guide people as how they should invest. And they pointed out that this, 40,000 milestone basically was caused by inflation. If you inflation adjusted the stock market back to May of 2021, it was at 40,000. So the stock market is going sideways when you adjust it for inflation.
And by the way, I don't know. You're better at that than I am. I kind of think that it's 6 months from now, it's 12 months from now, that it's that type of indicator, not a present indicator, and that our markets are betting on Trump being the president and a return to free market capitalism and energy costs coming down and wages going up and inflation coming down. So I'm of that school and not what you just said.
Yeah, I found it. I just found it interesting.
I don't discount it, and I'm persuadable, and I listened intently to what you said, but I'm going with its lagging indicators that, if you think about it, the shortest term I've ever heard Chuck mention in terms of our financial indices is 6 months. 6 months would be determinative that we would have a new president-elect. I think they're banking on Biden is leaving.
Yeah, I'm more of that school. I just found it interesting.
Yeah, I do too.
The way they lay it out, stocks are like any other product out there you can buy, so they're subject to inflation, and it was very fascinating. But that's the other lie they put out there, and I get back to it really shows that it's a bifurcated economy where the big corporations make money in any kind of conditions. They figure out a way to make money, and it's the medium-sized businesses, small business, middle-class people that get squeezed by these horrible economic policies of the Biden administration. And certainly it's not President Biden because he doesn't know what day it is, but the Obama bots that actually run the place down there, that fool that comes out, their economic advisor, who's never a trained economist.
Oh, he's like terrible.
Marketing guy.
He is terrible. I saw Neil Cavuto try to pin him down when they're lying about this, 9% thing, and they just lie about everything. We're going to be right back. I have the pleasure each Monday through Friday to talk to you about Congress Hall, the Virginia Hotel, the Prydwen, which I want you all to become familiar with. It's on the east side of New York. There's an island, and it is incredible It's just a 5-minute ferry ride from the mainland, and you are like you got to another country or something. It's really amazing. We get to talk about them. And today, it is my pleasure to tell you about Beach Plum Farm. It's terrific. A 62-acre working farm. Mornings begin with a rooster crowing, and every night the stars put on a show. You can stay there as well. You know, it's one thing that you can go farm to table with the great things that they grow, but you can escape to Beach Plum Farm in West Cape May because they have 5 private cottages and barns, and you can stay overnight. And it's comfortable. It's luxurious. Amazing amenities. You'll be pampered at Beach Plum Farm, where each cottage stay is accented with simple pleasures like farm-fresh eggs and spices plucked right from your own private garden. That's really cool. Stay your way with short weekend getaways, or you can have what they call a full immersive experience and retreat with a complete, full itinerary rooted in subjects like gardening, greenhouse growing, and birding, and all kinds of neat things. A charming market and kitchen add to the Beach Plum Farm experience, as do farm tours and a wonderful series of farm-to-table dinners. Beach Plum Farm feels a world away, but it really is right there next to downtown Cape May. There's a Victorian vibe, complimentary guest bicycles and golf carts keep everything well within reach. Book your stay at caperesorts.com/Beach Plum Farm. Beach Plum Farm, authentic farm retreats in West Cape May. Tell them Hurley in the Morning sent you. Back with Kirk Conover right after this.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
31 minutes past the hour. Harry Hurley with Kirk Conover, and I have 3 stories that you can follow right now on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. Crime allegations has led to low morale at the Atlantic City Public Schools. It's understandable. Check it out on the app. The prosecutor was called a racist by the NAACP by Kaleem the Entertainer. And then he gets an award 4 weeks later. It's almost funny if it wasn't. And Atlantic City refuses to act, so the state must.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. I think most of New Jersey is back in air conditioner territory today. Each day of the next week has a legit shot at 80 degrees. Of course, that's away from the coast. Early fog, then lots of sunshine, staying dry today. Partly cloudy and quiet tonight, low 61. Mostly sunny tomorrow, a touch more humid, high 82. Chance of an evening thunderstorm. Better chance of thunderstorms on Thursday. Get Weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
New Jersey voters, they're
starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. Hurley in the Morning.
Harry Hurley is the only person that can make sense of what's happening in Atlantic City.
On WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. 35 minutes past the hour with Kirk Conover. I am Hurley in the Morning. Chuck Malamut on deck in 30 minutes. All right, let's see. We covered Cohen. We've gotta get this in, Kirk. Then we'll take you to your happy place. We'll take you to Nirvana, and we'll talk economics. I promise. We talked a little bit already. The ICC, for those who don't know, the International Criminal Court. Somehow, Amal Clooney, George Clooney's wife, just convinced the International Criminal Court to serve arrest warrants. It's never going to happen, but these loons think they run the world, Kirk. So they're backing arrest warrants against Benjamin Netanyahu. They're calling him a war criminal. France has actually backed this. This is crazy.
Yeah, and I think she also convince them to issue a arrest warrant for the head of Hamas to make it look like they're fair and balanced.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But this is a rogue outfit, created by Europeans, and the U.S. has never joined it, doesn't recognize it, and neither does Israel, for a good reason. I mean, this International Criminal Court, I remember when there was debate raging about it when it was formed, the United States concern was they could charge any of our soldiers, that were fighting terrorism, say in Iraq or Afghanistan, that this outfit could pull our soldiers in. So we never joined it. And, does it surprise you that France backs it? I mean,
no.
They're
it's
the weakest of weak links of NATO and and Western civilization. I mean, they've always been a joke. The only time they were strong was when they helped us out in the Revolutionary War. After that, you can never count on them. Never count on them.
No.
But yeah, it's ludicrous, and I just don't know how it continues to exist when the biggest powers in the world don't recognize it. It's not recognized by Russia or China.
Well, I think it's because the radicals, and I think this Amal Clooney is radical as can be, they want power, and she seems like she's part of that hate America crowd. They like this kind of thing. So they don't care that the United States is not part of it or that Israel is not part of it. They want to be part of it.
Yeah, and the Europeans, they formed it, and I forget the history of it, but I just know that from the time it started, our main concern was that we could be doing legitimate military operations against terrorism, and this outfit could charge our soldiers with war crimes.
Well, that's what and that's what Israel is doing, and that's exactly what just happened.
And you're right. It's like the crowd that doesn't believe in American exceptionalism.
Nope.
They don't. They the Obama doctrine. We should be like everybody else.
Yep.
And fall into that social welfare state that leads to socialism, which is the greatest evil on the planet. Yeah, and just like the show trial in New York, this outfit puts on show trials when it can, and they never head in the right direction.
Terrible.
They never charge Kim Jong-un with starving his people to death, which is genocide on a mass scale.
I mean, he's dead now. Why didn't they charge the butcher of Tehran, Raisi? I mean, look what he did.
Right. And they won't charge Xi in China for, what he does to the Uyghurs.
Yep.
The mass slavery that exists there in China. So, no, it's an anti-Western culture operation. You probably investigate it and find that Soros money is behind it. And that is also inexplicable. The guy becomes a billionaire through the capitalist system and escapes from a communist country, and all he does is try to drag us down the road to socialism.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't heard that he's involved, but you wouldn't be surprised. But just seeing this Amal Clooney at a podium acting like she's the dictator of the world, I mean, I got to tell you, it's a little much to take. Kirk, we're going to be right back. When we come back, I want to get your prediction, because I believe there's a very good chance today will be the last day of testimony, and then there'll be very few things left before the jury gets its instructions in New York v. Trump. Basically, these are the only possibilities. You could have Merchan grant a dismissal from the bench. I would bet anything that he will not do that, even though that is the just thing to do. He could grant a mistrial, but it would be on himself, so he's not going to grant a mistrial. He's going to charge the jury. It's going to go to the jury, and then the jury will either come back with a unanimous conviction of President Trump, a unanimous acquittal of President Trump, or a hung jury. I have my prediction but I want to get yours first when we come back. This portion of Early in the Morning brought to us in part by my friends at United Methodist Communities at the Shores in Ocean City. And a reminder, we've been talking about it for weeks. This Friday, that's May 24th, believe it or not, it's just impossible to believe how fast it's all going. It's going to be June before you know it. Then you know it's going to be July 4th, and it's going to be Labor Day, and we're going to just be shaking our head and saying, what happened here? But from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. this Friday, you can browse booths with a variety of crafts and merchandise, enter a floral wreath contest, enjoy free ice cream, live music from Ralph Michaels' Sounds of Sinatra. If you're considering senior living options for yourself or a loved one, I recommend exclusively United Methodist Communities at the Shores in Ocean City, and here's why. Fully remodeled private apartments, 2 restaurants, a bistro on the first level, on-site fitness center, the Tapestry's memory care residence. Best of all, it's just 3 short blocks from the ocean, beach, and boardwalk. You can celebrate the season at the Shore Spring Market with crafts, vendors, ice cream, live music this Friday, May 24th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Shores, 2201 Bay Avenue in Ocean City. To learn more about United Methodist Communities at the Shores in Ocean City, simply call 609-399-8505. That's 609-399-8505. And please tell them that Early in the Morning sent you.
The WPG Talk Radio app is everything South Jersey on your phone and in your car through Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Local news, weather, and information updated around the clock from New Jersey's largest radio news team. Easy access to WPG podcasts and more. Powered by Smokers Haven. You'll find the finest selection of cigars at any of their 5 locations. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. Visit SmokersHavenNJ.com. Early in the Morning.
They stick to the facts.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. 47 minutes past the hour. Kirk Conover, yours truly, Early in the Morning. Kirk, next topic is yours. What's on your mind?
Well, of course, economics is forefront because it's the engine of everybody's existence. And you have a Biden administration, the Obama bots that run it, are basically creating policy by polling. And that's the wrong way to conduct business. They, poll something and Biden gets elected and he thinks he's got a mandate to reverse everything that Trump did.
Well, that didn't go too well, did it?
No. Day one, he ruined our energy independence by restricting exploration, canceling the pipeline, Keystone XL pipeline. And that, to me, the reason America became the greatest industrial and economic power in world history was because of our vast energy supplies that are right here in America. That's the underpinning. And when you knock that out, and then on top of it, wage war against fossil fuels under the guise of climate change, you're creating an economic disaster. And then you create all these spending programs, which Democrats are famous for, create all these spending programs that were completely unnecessary and that are basically a ruse on the American people that they're actually going to do something. All they did was fire off the worst bout of inflation in 45 years. So it was an economic disaster, thinking that they had some kind of a mandate, and now they're you see them do all this polling and they say, oh, immigration's the top, illegal immigration's the top issue. So he makes all these bloviating announcements that they're going to secure the border when everybody knows it's not secure, and everybody knows why they don't want it secure. They want future Democrat voters to stream across. They want cheap labor for their big elite corporate buddies. So it's a bad way to do business. But I think, if Donald Trump is reelected, he will unleash the energy sector. He'll get rid of these crazy electric vehicle mandates and windmills and this crazy unreliable solar and windmill energy producing things that are only going to drive the prices up. I mean, it's incredibly expensive to try to think about how much money would go into building a windmill farm out in the ocean. How much more money that costs than just firing up a natural gas power plant.
Yeah.
Or a nuclear power plant.
Oh, no, there's no question. I mean, it's such a difference in philosophy. Biden is adverse to energy but has no problem buying dirty, energy from despotic countries. But here he could be energy independent. We were a net oil exporter, and they're just totally adverse to all that. Kirk, I want to backtrack just a moment because I did say to our listeners we were going to make our predictions. Trump, New York v. Trump, give us your take on what you think's going to happen relative to the verdict.
I think it's going to be a hung jury. And it almost looks like that's the way they want it.
Give us your assign a percentage, 0 to 100%, the chance of President Trump being convicted.
I'd say 20%.
Well, I hope you're right. I'm concerned only because I'm a control freak, and I don't like it when other people, these 12 people have the president's life in some respects in their hands. And they've been pretty much brainwashed by this Merchan with what he's allowed to go on. I'm concerned. I don't want to say it's 50-50, but I'm thinking there's a better than 20% chance that he'll be convicted, only because of the jurisdiction, how crooked this trial has been. You just don't know with this kind of thing. I know how it ends. If he's convicted, it'll be reversed. I have no doubt about that. But I'm not so sure that there will be time to reverse it before Election Day. And think about all the damage. They'll fundraise off of it. Maybe even Biden will say, I can't debate. I'm the one that challenged a debate. So obviously I'm not afraid to debate. I challenged him to 2 debates. But I can't debate a convicted felon. I mean, I'm concerned about this, Kirk, a lot.
Yeah, I'm concerned about it, but I also look at what we've seen, the destruction of the witnesses for the prosecution. There only needs to be one person that has clear thinking to make it a hung jury. But, the hung jury is a problem, too, because they'll be able to say, oh, we're going to try it again, or he wasn't really found innocent. So they'll be able to play that, too. So that's a danger also.
Yeah, that's a minimal one to me, though. That I don't care. As long as he's not convicted, to be able to call him a convicted felon, which, of course, is not accurate until after sentencing. Let me just have fun with you for a minute, when this is not fun, actually. But would Merchan allow President Trump to be free pending the appeal, or would he jail him, or would he confine him to his home?
I think he would have to allow him to be free. The only reason you confine someone to their home or jail them is if they think he's going to leave the country and not, appear for any more court.
Yeah, but the same thing would be held true instead of hundreds of millions of dollars, and that was only lowered because he won his appeal to lower it. They wanted it to be $1 billion something, whatever. What about the fact that that's what it should be? That's what it always is, but different rules for Trump. He could say, I'm jailing you. You're going to Rikers. Your house arrest. I don't put that past Merchan.
And isn't Merchan supposedly retiring after this trial.
Evidently, but he made sure he got this one.
So he might do the nuclear option, so to speak.
Why not?
Nothing to lose. And then he would be revered by the left.
Hey, look, he's going to be wonderful at all the beautiful people parties, but this guy is going to be, his name is going to be Mud, just like Dr. Mud. He's going to be Mud because if Trump is convicted, the reverse that he's going to suffer will be so critical of what he did.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
I'm not hoping for it because that would mean that the president was convicted in this kangaroo court.
Yeah.
So let me give you the other percentage. What is the percentage in this New York, I remind everyone, New York courtroom that President Trump would be acquitted?
Probably 10%.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I always want to see the best in people because this case has been so bad, put on so bad. It almost is like they knew they were going to lose, and then if they just get some miracle and the jury nullifies it and gives them a conviction, they say, "Yeah, we had a great case and we tried it great," but they've been terrible in this case. I'm thinking 50-50 that he can get acquitted.
That would be great. That'd be a great percentage.
Should be 100%. And the case shouldn't even have been brought forward, but we're in New York after all.
I just think that some of the people on this jury probably aren't the brightest, the greatest and brightest. And basically, to me, it hangs on those two attorneys that are on there. They've got to be able to see through this. I mean, they can't.
Or they could be liberal whack jobs that will do a runaway jury and convince the jury to convict Trump. Look, we're lawyers. They proved their case. Look at this. This is faulty bookkeeping and to try to further another crime, and they proved it. I mean, they didn't. Those two attorneys, I think. Now, if you're on a jury, you don't have to listen to you. Hey, shut up. I don't care you're an attorney. Shut up. I don't have to listen to you. Good, you're an attorney. You seem to be a corrupt one. I think he's innocent. So I think there's going to be 1 out of 12 at least that may hold out, but I'm not too sure about all of this. Kirk, new topic. In our final 2 minutes, President Trump is now calling for Joe Biden to be drug tested prior to the first debate. What did you think of that?
I thought that was very appropriate because you look at the State of the Union address, he was all jacked up. I mean, he was high on something. And you look at, you and I have talked about this. He goes home to Delaware, they pump him full of something, and then he comes back Monday, Tuesday, he's functioning, and then by Wednesday it's wearing off, and Thursday he goes back into dementia mode, and Friday they ship him back off to Delaware, and they blood dope him or something. There's no way that this is actual human, natural activity. The way.
Well, no, I mean, we've never had a president disappears for 3 to 5 days prior to any type of debate or speech or anything like that. It's crazy what has gone on, and the Democrat media knows it, and they're just corrupt. How about the fact, and I believe most Americans don't know this, Kirk, every Friday at 12 noon, they put a lid on the White House. This guy is literally off 3 out of 7 days a week.
Yeah, well, that's Jeff Dunham puts Walter away on Fridays at noon too, I guess.
Closing comment, final minute.
Well, Harry, I wish for our economy to continue to move forward, but the growth rate was revised down again, GDP to 1.6%. Inflation, all the indices of inflation, it's ticking back up.
Kirk, Chuck will cover this, but what did you think of CPI for the first time in 4 months? Did go in the right direction. Barely, but did go.
Well, I have questions about how they measure the CPI. We've talked about that before, and I don't know if it's a trend, but the trend to me is that the economy is slowing down. Interest rates are digging in. The real estate market is flattening out.
Yeah, I think, Kirk, we're out of time. I think the trend was for 3 straight months it was going up. The fact it came down 1 month, I don't think is a trend.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Hey, thank you. Welcome back. 5 minutes past the hour. The following program is presented and sponsored by Chuck Malamut, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck Malamut and do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney, member, SIPC, Chuck Malamut. Hey.
Good morning, Harry. Have a good weekend?
Yeah, it has a tendency to go very, very quickly, though.
Can we ever get a weekend with no rain? What do you think?
I'm going to say yes, but it hasn't happened lately.
It hasn't happened, I think, since the beginning of March, Harry. To be honest with you, I saw it the other day, either Saturday or Sunday, every weekend. But hopefully, look, though, Memorial Day weekend, it's hard to believe that we're here, and I can't imagine that the weekend will be just extremely busy here at the shore.
It is. This is kind of snuck up, hasn't it? It's weird.
It's early, too. Earlier.
Yeah, that's true. You think about it, right, it usually feels like it should be next week. Now, let's just check this out real quick. Friday, 43% chance of rain. Saturday, 42% chance of rain. Sunday, 24% chance of rain. Monday, 57% chance of rain. It's going to be a rainy Memorial Day weekend.
Maybe we get lucky here.
Well, we hope and pray that Thursday, June 20th.
Exactly. There you go.
Because there's something about, I don't know.
Did you check out the extended forecast yet, or it's a little too far out?
It's too far out. Right now, you can go all the way to June 4th.
Okay. There you go.
With some reliability, but I don't worry until it gets within a week.
So I heard you and Kirk, obviously, this morning. Great show. And
Thank you.
I think that before we get into the actual market update, I think the question at hand was, are we going into a recession?
I know. Let's put it this way. If you heard my earlier pronouncement, it was before Kirk. It was in the 6 o'clock hour. If you were listening, 64% of the American people think we are in a recession right now.
And we'll get it. I think we covered that last week, actually, as far as
officially we're not allowed.
People feeling sour and dour with where they are in their financial lives. But let's talk a little bit about the market last week, and we'll get into all the various talking points that we outlined for you, late last evening. So the S&P last week was up 1.6%. 4 straight weeks of gains, with the index moving up about 7%. After 3 straight weeks of declines in April, if you remember, we were, sort of hitting the wall, and all the doomsdayers were saying, well, this is just the start of something that you really need to be careful about. And lo and behold, after just several weeks, the market, was down about 5%. It did correct. And since that has done a really good job.
Record-setting job.
Yeah, and
is Dow 40,000 a big deal?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
All right. It is a number, and I'll leave it at that for now. But last week, what happened was, we reported here with you on Tuesday PPI, which which came in higher than expectations, and the market actually shrugged it off on Tuesday, which was pretty amazing. Then on Wednesday, we had that rally because it was all about the inflation data that was released for April 2024.
What a difference 0.1% can make.
Well,
because that's all it was.
It was, or it is, or I guess it was actually, because it is a lagging number. But the market is looking at the Fed to say, okay, this higher for longer. When is this needs to end? And the Fed, unfortunately, Harry, you've been doing this a long time. We've been doing this a long time together. The Fed never seems to get it right. I can remember, the days that we had Greenspan and Bernanke, and it just, the list goes on and on.
I did not like Greenspan at all. I did like Bernanke for the most part.
So, Harry,
Janet Yellen.
Well, no comment there, because she still is, she is a paid political operative, I guess is probably the best way to put it. But let's go back. I don't want to get myself in trouble. It only is at 811 right now.
I know.
So S&P last week up 1.6%, Dow up 1.35%, the Nasdaq, the winner in the group, up 2.15%. So year to date, these indices are up anywhere from 7 to almost 12%. International stocks, Harry, continue again moving onward and upward, up 1.7% last week, up 8.4% year to date. Best performing sectors, communication services, and they seem to have held that spot, pretty much for the year. Utilities, got into that second spot now. It's been there for several weeks, and no one had ever anticipated that utilities would get off of their back, so to speak, and start performing as the first time in a long time. And information technology was in third place. And those indices or sectors up anywhere from 15 to 20%. On the flip side, Harry, real estate, consumer discretionary, and healthcare. Consumer discretionary and healthcare are up. However, real estate, and Kirk, I think, just said it last hour, down 2.5%. Only sector in the S&P 500 down year to date. And there's obviously a lot of reasons for that. We always talk about commercial real estate. We're going to talk a little bit, I believe, in today's discussion about what's happening with foreclosures. But with these high interest rates, and even though you have lack of inventory that is available for individual homes, it's really getting rough and tough. I just heard just yesterday, imagine having a small business, and you have a credit line, and your line, is going to roll every 90 days, and that rate is going to reset based on short-term money. So that rate was, virtually 11 hikes ago, or 11 cycles, or 11 times that you've gone through this 90-day period of time. That rate is going anywhere, Harry, from initially like 4% to now over 10%. Wow. So how do small businesses with that cash flow, that they have to be able to maintain and pay that line off, it just cuts into their profitability. So, and
are some losing their line altogether?
Well, they are, and you look at like big companies, your S&P 500 companies, they're going to make it, but a lot of, Harry, this is going to take out. It has already. We've seen it here locally. We've seen it throughout the country. A lot of these smaller businesses just don't have the capacity and to be able to stay in business.
It's true. Tour de force opening. Chuck will be right back. That's your first snapshot market update when we come back. Chuck doesn't get obsessed about any one day, but we will talk about yesterday and a whole lot more as we continue. Chuck Malamut, all about your financial matters. 609-383-2010 and 609-383-2010. We'll be back in just a little bit. Don't go away.
You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
Established, reputable.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. WPGG-AM.com. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the morning.
Not only the news, but perspective too.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. 19 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malama talking all about your financial matters. So, Chuck, I know that we don't sweat any one day, but you're going to talk about Monday, May 20th. Another
so
record.
Harry, actually, believe it or not, the NASDAQ had a record yesterday. End of the day up 0.7%, a new record. Big tech ending the day up mostly higher. Now, remember, we talked about this last week. NVIDIA reports, I believe, tomorrow. And it's going to be all eyes on NVIDIA and AI. So it was the ninth record of 2024 for the NASDAQ. And, you did talk about the Dow, getting to that 40,000. And I mean, I'm not throwing cold water on this, Harry, not in any way, shape, or form. The Dow was off yesterday, about 710, or about almost 200 points, or 0.5% after that milestone that we reached on Friday. But remember, the Dow is only 30 stocks, and while it is a market capitalization, they're all market capitalized indexes. A company like a J.P. Morgan yesterday, Harry, carried the weight on a downward motion with respect to the Dow. Interestingly enough, and we really don't talk a lot about this, but Morgan Stanley's chief strategist Mike Wilson actually kind of flipped the switch here a little bit and turned positive.
Wow!
So it was. It's been a long time. He's one of the most prominent pessimists, has been on the street. He upped his S&P 500 target to 5,400, which is, pretty much where we are right now. That's a 20% increase from his prior 12-month forecast when he was about 4,500.
Wow.
So to get to 5,400, it's a slight move. But it's significant with respect to his forecasting, because he was actually, looking at a 15% decline by the time we got to December of this year. So, I mean, Harry, just want to kind of throw that out there that, the market is ignoring the fact that every day our deficit gets larger and larger. Was it $1 trillion? Every 90 days. Is that stat correct?
Yes.
I don't know how you can sustain that.
You can't, but that's where we're at now. We didn't get a chance to do what we usually do because they flipped the script on us and came out with PPI before the CPI. So PPI was not good news, but the markets didn't, as you mentioned, they shook it off rather easily. CPI, for the first time in 4 months, actually went in the correct direction.
It did, Harry. Actually, CPI, or consumer prices, rose 0.3% during the month of, April from March. It was below those 0.4% of 1% consensus forecast. Core inflation was up 0.3 as well, and that was as expected. On a year-over-year basis, I think this is really important, Harry. Prices were up about 3.4% during the month of April. That is down from 3.5% in March. Core slowed to about 3.6 from 3.8. So these are a lot of stats. But I think what it gets down to, two things. One, is this an anomaly? Because we've had, multiple months of inflation moving in the wrong direction. So we're not going to know this, obviously, for another 3 weeks or so. But does this signal? Does this give the Fed enough confidence, to be able to cut rates, soon? You think about, and prices are not up 3.4% or 3.3% or 3.8%. I mean, you just talk to the average person on the street. You look at, again, we talked about this a lot: food prices, energy prices, automobile insurance, home insurance. I mean, Harry, rent. It's just terribly expensive to be able to live now. And so I'm not throwing cold water on these numbers, but it is a step in the right direction. And, I guess only time will tell. But the consumer is pulling back. There's no doubt about it. They are very, very cautious now with their spending. Big ticket items not being bought like they were certainly during COVID.
Yeah, well said, all of it. This also was a reality. Slim pickings for college grads. This is not a good time for them either.
Well, we talked about, sort of off air, all the issues that are happening in college, on college campuses right now, and how much are actually students versus, operatives. But I mean, that's a discussion for another day, not part of our agenda. But you think about, and even putting that aside for a second, the cost, the ever escalating cost of college. It just doesn't ever go in the direction that we as, parents or consumers want. It always keeps moving onward and upward. But, you think about it, you spend 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, whatever, you have your diploma. I mean, you could have, multiple degrees.
Yeah.
Yes, I know you're laughing.
I left at the 8.
But I wasn't talking about
I know. We weren't talking about bachelors. But I will say, though, most people are taking 5 years to get what used to be easy to get in 4 or easier.
So you think about the graduates here, they endured COVID. All right. And it was very, very tough. But for many, maybe, Harry, the struggle actually is now just starting. It turns out the demand for younger workers with college degrees is cooling. Hiring projections, right now are down about 6% from last year. According to a recent survey that was done by the National Association of Colleges and Employers. And there are currently about 5% fewer job openings or postings that were there for these entry-level jobs just a year ago for those grads that have some sort of a bachelor degree. So they're, graduates right now are entering now. Put it aside here because it's summer resort. Here things are different. But think about like New York City, Chicago, LA, Dallas, Miami, whatever it may be. Recent grads are now entering a cooler labor market than a few years ago.
It's true. It was going like this. These graduates knew exactly where they were going. Typically, before they even graduated, that's not the case anymore.
Well, yeah, Harry. So look at the non-farm payroll growth. It's averaged about $245,000 a month, so far this year. And a lot of that hiring has been in industries much like leisure, hospitality, retail, healthcare. And they typically, that's not where a college graduate is going to, initially maybe start their work life. Government hiring was down substantially during the month of April. So maybe this job growth is sort of, run its course. And again, higher for longer, tighter money. You can't get money right now, Harry, so it's really tough.
We're going to be right back and much more important content with Chuck Malamut when we come back. Economic data, and Chuck will share whether it's been good or whether it has been disappointing. This portion of the Hurley in the Morning program is also brought to us in part by our friends right next door at Batteries Plus. They have stores in Northfield, right next to Broadcast Center, and Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And they're one of our WPG industry aces. If you have a car, truck, marine, RV, camper, golf cart, ATV, mobility scooter, or motorcycle, and you need a battery, they've got them all. If you need to get ready for the storm season, if you need LED, emergency lighting, a portable generator, the surge protectors, they've got them all. Batteries Plus. If you have a broken phone or a tablet, they can fix them. If your cell phone battery needs replacement, and we did that, they work, it seems to me they work for about 2 years. and then the battery just doesn't hold a charge. So unless you want to bring portable battery backup, you can have them, while you wait, replace the battery in your phone, and it'll be like the day you got the phone. The battery will hold a charge, and it really is game-changing. If your watch or your key fob for the car, if it needs a new battery, you can get a replacement while you wait. Any of these items, if they're broken because they fix cracked screens, I mentioned the battery replacements, the charging ports, speakers, microphones, pretty much anything that's inside a phone, they can fix it. Batteries Plus, 900 Tilton Road, Northfield, Route 73 in Mount Laurel. Stop into one of the locations and enter to win a pair of tickets to see Journey and Def Leppard. Back with Chuck Malamut right after this. For all of your financial planning needs, call the Malamut Group, 609-383-2010. 609-383-2010.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Thank you. It's exactly 30 minutes past the hour with Chuck Malamut. I am Harry Hurley, and I have 3 stories that you can follow right now on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. Crime allegations has led to low morale at the Atlantic City Public Schools. You can read about that. The Atlantic County prosecutor was called a racist by the Atlantic City chapter of the NAACP, and then about 4 weeks later, they gave the same person they called a racist an Atlantic City NAACP award. And Atlantic City refuses to act.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Today's weather will look very similar to yesterday's as temperatures tick a few degrees warmer. Early fog, then lots of sunshine. Will stay completely dry today. High temperature around 78. We'll see 80s inland today. Partly cloudy tonight, low 61. Very warm and humid tomorrow, high 82 with mostly sunny skies. And there is a chance of an evening thunderstorm tomorrow as well. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Egg Harbor Township, Ocean City, Brigantine, Mays Landing.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Hey, thank you. Welcome back. 35 minutes past the hour. In 30 minutes, we will have wide open forum for the rest of today's program. We're visiting right now with Chuck Malamut, talking all about your financial matters. U.S. economic data, I know because, obviously I see your show prep, so I know which way it's going. Do tell.
So, Harry, the best thing about getting prepared for the show is being able to do a lot of research. And there are entities that you never would have believed existed. They come with all these stats. So this is a mouthful here. It's called the U.S. City Economic Surprise Index.
Oh wow!
So you got
Surprise.
that committed to memory. The U.S. City Economic Surprise Index. So that recently dipped below zero, indicating that all the various U.S. economic releases that we have seen have been disappointing expectations. Retail sales were unchanged in April. A downward surprise. Expectations, month over month, were supposed to grow up 0.4%. So this is sort of symptomatic, Harry, of deteriorating consumer fundamentals. And we've talked about how stretched the consumer is. And now, all those rate hikes and that the Fed is, kind of stuck, higher for longer. It's, we're living it now, pretty much day in and day out. I mean,
how do markets interpret such divergent news that keeps happening? I think this is one of the more interesting and unique times in the whole 32 years that we've been doing this together. And for those just listening to Chuck's program, Chuck has been in the financial services industry longer than the length of this program that we have done together. How many more years?
38, I think.
Yeah, so a number of years more, 6 years more plus. So what I'm saying is, though, some of it's good news, but then some of it's bad news.
and some of it is no news.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
But it goes back. I mean, I think, and you coined it very well in the last hour. With Kirk, it was the market, Harry, is a leading indicator.
Yes.
A lot of things that we report is lagging. Things that have happened. Driving, and we always talk about. Can you drive when you're driving your vehicle? Are you driving looking at the rearview mirror all day? You can't drive like that.
No. Especially when objects are closer than the mirror than they. I never liked that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Auto insurance rates are high enough right now. You driving, looking through the rearview mirror, that's obviously a cause for potential disaster. But the market, is a leading indicator 6, 9, 12 months out. I mean, companies in the first quarter of this year, Harry, have done a remarkable job with less revenue. For the most part, and with higher earnings per share, higher bottom line numbers, and the forward looking statements that they're making, during these conference calls, they weren't waving the white flag, so to speak. They were saying, things are actually pretty good here. So I think that you're right. I mean, we've had a situation here now where you have a lot of numbers that do not agree.
Right, mixed.
And the fact of the matter is, I mean, look, we don't talk politics on on this hour together, but we have never lived through what we're living through right now.
Agreed.
I mean, a presidential debate in the month of June.
Yeah.
Followed by a debate in September.
Yeah.
Almost
two before you'd ever have one. Yeah.
We've never heard of that before. We've never seen it before, I guess.
No, it's true.
So anyway, getting back to the consumer for a second, and let's look at delinquencies for a minute.
And for those, listen closely because this is not good news.
Younger borrowers, Harry, right now, delinquencies are up. Especially for younger borrowers, now well above where we were pre-COVID levels for automobiles and credit cards, even though we're showing low unemployment. So you have labor cooling, as evidenced last month, the April jobs report. Credit seems to look worse week in and week out. So again, the consumer getting squeezed. We talked about just a few minutes ago how much more challenging it is for a college grad to get that first job, and now you look at those that are out in the workforce. It's getting tougher and tougher because of these higher interest rates.
We're going to get our last break in right now so that when we come back, we're going to have 14 minutes uninterrupted with Chuck Malamut, the best in the business, talking all about your financial matters. We're going to talk about investor optimism right now when we come back from the break. And you can reach Chuck for all of your financial planning needs at 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010.
Early in the morning.
It tends to make me feel a little bit more intelligent.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
It's the topics that matter to me.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Welcome. We're back. 46 minutes, just as promised. We run right on time here on the Hurley in the Morning program. 14 minutes uninterrupted with Chuck Malamut. So here we go again. Investor optimism, Chuck.
Harry, let's tag the word complacency. So if you look at investor optimism regarding the economy and corporate earnings right now, it sort of borders on complacency. So far investors do have the right to, have been right to be optimistic. We've climbed, we talk about the wall of worry. We've talked about that, and that's what happened with stocks, and we're currently at these record highs. Risk on is likely to continue until either a recession worries or the Fed, continues. And think about this, Harry. Do you think they could increase rates?
I don't think they're going to increase rates, and I have a good reason to say that.
All right. Well, I don't think that's completely off the table.
I don't think it's off the table.
Is.
They're going to let it be on the table, but they're not going to do it. Remember now, I know we don't talk politics on your show, but my GPS on all this is they're not going to do anything to hurt Joe Biden. Between now and November 5th, there'll be no rate increase, and I guarantee you that there will be at least one decrease, because then he's going to be able to say that things are improving and we have objective evidence that they're improving because we've lowered interest rates and we're on the path. It won't even matter if we're not, because it'll be able to be said. So I guarantee there will not be a rate increase, and I guarantee at least one decrease.
All right. So a point well taken, but the next thing I wanted to talk to you about, Harry, and your listeners, is the fact that, over the last 12 months, federal interest expense has increased by about 40%.
Terrible.
To an all-time high of over $800 billion. So keeping rates higher for longer obviously impacts all of us, and not only, in our daily lives, in our businesses and whatever it may be, but think about the impact. I mean, I guess the government can just print more money at the end of the day. I don't think no one wins. No one wins with that equation. But yeah, I mean,
aren't these numbers becoming so out of control that, I mean, at some point,
they're numb.
Yeah,
they're numbing is what happens.
These are terrible numbers.
But the market, the stock market
shrugs it off.
Has done a very good job. Obviously 2022, not a great year in the market. 23 was. 24 so far shapes up to be good. But something is going to happen. Look,
Chuck,
something lurking around the corner. Something will happen, Harry.
Let me float something that I don't think is going to happen, but if we really treated it like if this was someone's household, you'd have had to declare bankruptcy or at least some kind of reorganization because you couldn't continue to pay, this level of debt service. Would there ever be a time where they would either retire the debt, take the butt whooping that would come with something like that? Because you can't just leave it hanging out there.
Harry, I don't know how you retire the debt. What do? You just go out and you say, listen, to an investor, you bought,
Yeah, I think they forgive it.
You bought,
it's just,
you bought a 30-year treasury, and now this has no value.
I know. It sounds impossible.
No, you can't do that, Harry. I just think that.
So then you just keep adding zeros.
Well, I think we have to get better, and unfortunately, it hasn't happened yet, and maybe it won't happen. We have to just get better at controlling our costs. A business, a household. They have to control their costs.
I mean, at some point, though, we will have only interest on the debt, and there'll be nothing for military or any discretionary. There's just going to be nothing.
But think about this for a second. All eyes now on China, and Biden and Trump. Are they're in this duel right now. They're trying to outdo each other in terms of being tough on trade, with China.
Well, Biden went from trashing Trump, and this is not politics, this is truth. Biden went from trashing Trump tariffs to now proposing 100% tariff.
On EVs. Now, Harry, the problem with all of that, I mean, there's a lot of underlying issues, but the result of these higher tariffs could ultimately, create higher inflation and a possible recession. So, who wins at the end? Does the American public win by this, this ping pong going back and forth? Well, you do this and I'm going to do that.
It shows you the problem with the expediency of playing to the current election cycle. Because bad decisions get made.
Absolutely. I mean, so EV, tariffs, would they go to 100%? They were 25% there. Solar cells and semiconductors, they doubled from 25 to 50%. It just, you get to the point where I guess, you're just trying to choke off China, which I guess at the end of the day, I'm not sure who wins in that battle.
Chuck, I interviewed a man by the name of Gordon Chang. He is brilliant. He's one of the smartest people on the planet in terms of China. He agreed with me that China is actually overstating. They're saying they're growing at 6%. Nobody believes that. They're not growing at 6%. And according to your show, Prep, they're unveiling new stimulus because they are experiencing credit contraction. What can you tell us about that?
So, Harry, what is happening?
By the way, do you agree with me? They're not growing at 6%, but they're saying that they are? They're not growing at 6%.
They're not. No, they're not. Harry, I don't think they're growing much at all.
I agree.
Remember they built these cities, and the cities are vacant.
Yeah.
There's no one there. So, what happened in April in China? They have this what they call total social financing. It's a measure of credit in China. It contracted for the first time, since 2005. This development comes amid all the continued stress within the country that we just kind of talked about in the property sector. Consumers pretty downbeat, and the business sentiment is basically at all-time lows. So, China did sell its first batch of these sovereign bonds on last Friday, and the proceeds are slated to be used to stimulate the economy. Also last week, Harry, the government announced a support package that lowers down payments for home buyers. They also scrapped the minimum national mortgage rate, and they introduced state-owned enterprises to buy up excess inventory from property developers and convert that to affordable housing. So, all those moves, Harry, come as Chinese new home prices had the largest drop in a decade, falling 3.5% year over year this past April. So 6%, I'm not sure where that number comes from. But, Harry, if anything, that's not – I think that's kind of a make-believe number.
Totally agree. This also is very dangerous. It's very easy to shop today. It's just at your fingertips. You shop now and pay later and all of this. This is happening.
So this is happening a lot. So, consumers spend about $330 billion, Harry, online at U.S. retail stores over the 4 months that just ended in April. That's an increase of about 7% year over year. But, consumers are for a lot more than we've normally have seen. This buy now, pay later, or BNPL is referred to. That is up, Harry, about 11, almost 12% year over year.
Wow.
These BNPL, buy now, pay later plans, account for about $84 billion, Harry, of the $336 billion in sales. So, is this the, as you put it, kicking the can down the road here?
I think so.
I mean, you get to the point where consumers say, well, okay, that's a great, television I bought online or whatever, and now I can't pay for it.
Yeah, just get everything you want. Buy now, worry about it later. That's always a bad situation. This is also potentially more bad news depending on what your answer is going to be. What's the update on U.S. foreclosures?
So, Harry, as we started the show today, we kind of talked around this foreclosure filings, for U.S. properties. That includes default notices, scheduled auctions, bank repos. It was about 95,000 units in the first quarter of 2024. It's an increase of about 3% year over year. Now, the three states, not good news here, the three states with the highest foreclosure rates in the first quarter, Delaware, New Jersey, South Carolina.
Wow.
Okay. So, again, we made a list, and it's not a great list to be on.
Delaware doesn't surprise me. New Jersey absolutely doesn't surprise me. South Carolina surprises me a little bit.
It does. Yeah, I would have thought
that
it would be another, like a New York maybe.
And Chuck, your show, I believe, is one of the most sane, rational, consistently excellent programs when it comes to objectively covering student debt. What's the latest?
So, Harry, at the end of the day, who the question that we always ask: who's going to pay? Who's paying for this? We're
going to pay.
So think about all the plan. And again, I for the life of me, and we talk about it, and we can't get an answer. The Supreme Court said you can't do this.
I know.
But now, Harry, there are various plans that are out there.
Our president found what's called a workaround.
The total, this is staggering, Harry. The total cost of student debt cancellation policies put in place since 2020 is going to cost $870 billion to $1.4 trillion. Harry, that's more than total federal spending on higher education that we've seen from 1962 to 2019. So think about it. We got 1962 to 2019. So what is that, 55 years if my math is correct?
Your math is good, and what they found was they just made it no debt-to-equity ratio requirements. They just gave the money, and now people can't pay the money.
But they're going to forego the money.
And
you think about it, they have all these different...
For winners and losers of their choosing.
They pick and choose. Absolutely. You're absolutely correct about that.
So unfair. Final minute, I turn it over to you.
Well, Harry, we always talk about how there's so many people that live paycheck to paycheck. A recent survey that was conducted found that about 80% of Americans right now, unfortunately, are living paycheck to paycheck. It's an increase of about 6 percentage points over the previous year. 30% of Americans have incomes that don't even cover regular living expenses.
Wow.
So, a lot of work to do. Harry, I'm not sure between the haves and the have-nots. Winning, picking winners and losers, not a great place to be for sure, but the sun is always going to shine tomorrow.
I like that.
Hopefully.
I like that.
Hopefully no more rain. So listen, to you, your family, your listeners, be safe. Have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. It's hard to believe we're here.
I know. You the same, Chuck. You and yours. 609-383-2010. 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. And Chuck Malamut presents and sponsors his weekly program Tuesday mornings in the 8 o'clock hour, talking all about your financial matters. Go Yankees, go Dodgers.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you. Welcome back. It's just about 6 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut has not left the building, which reminds me of Elvis, and I still can't believe this. How could this even be possible with the amazing job? They say, if you believe what they say, whoever they are, that when Elvis died, he had just under $1 million in a checking account. That was it, because he bought cars for his team and did all kinds of things. Priscilla, who I'm a huge fan of, and now I actually got to meet her, which was amazing. Met her with Tony Orlando. She turned the whole thing around, and it was going unbelievable. But for whatever reason, I don't even want to get into the details, the granddaughter got control of everything. Chuck, are you aware that this Thursday, Graceland is up for auction?
I was not aware of that, Harry.
I can't now, unless something stops this, and I don't know what that would be, a challenge of some kind. There's a foreclosure, and Graceland could be owned by just some stranger.
I think you should put a bid on it. With that, I'm going to bid you adieu.
Thank you, Chuck. I'll tell you what, if we did own Graceland, we could make it happen. I would hire as my chief consultant Joe Kelly, and we would turn Graceland. I'm telling you right now, Priscilla Presley, she ran what I think is called Elvis Presley Enterprises or something like that, incredibly well, incredibly profitably. How could that be up for a bankruptcy auction? Who messed that up? How do you mess that up? The tours that they do, the moneymaker that is, that was completely turned around. And I don't know enough to have as deep a conversation as I would love to have on it. But I'll tell you what, I'm not in a position to make a bid. But if you owned Graceland, think about what you could do. The history that's in that place, the concerts you could do, the special events, all that Elvis memorabilia. Oh my gosh, it's it should be criminal. Whoever blew it, and it's evidently some kind of business error. I mean, the word bankruptcy is being used, but I don't think it was a lack of money. I think that somebody just messed it up. But this much I do know. Priscilla Presley, she turned that from nothing into something incredible. And I learned about this actually yesterday. Didn't even know this was coming. So again, unless something changes, Thursday, somebody is going to buy Graceland, and it will not be in the Presley family if it goes down the way that it looks like it may go down. Here's another point of information that maybe you have an opinion on. After agreeing to 2 debates with Joe Biden, President Trump took the position that before the first debate, Joe Biden is required to take a drug test. Now, I can, there's not many things I will guarantee, but I will guarantee this. Joe Biden will not take a drug test. He'll take a private test between him and his doctor, but he will not take a blood test prior to the first debate, prior to any debate. Not going to happen. Now, in your own mind, you could speculate, what would that drug test elicit? And of course, we only have our own hunches. We don't know. My guess would be that it would depend on exactly when the test would be done. I've had my own just sneaky suspicion that 3, 5, 7 days even out before any major event, State of the Union, debate, anything like that, the president disappears. You don't see him. You don't hear from him. That's always a minimum of 3 to 5 days. So what goes on? I mean, it could be just some kind of regimen of super rest, vitamins. I mean, it might not be anything spectacular, but there are people, and Trump is one of them, and I'm probably 2 of them. Something goes on. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I've never said, that I think he has this or that he has that. I said, but as a person with 2 eyes, I always feel that I am qualified to say something is going on. If you see him squinty-eyed and then all of a sudden he's wide-eyed and he doesn't blink, something's going on. Your guess is as good as mine what happens there. So that's in the news. No way. And I mean, think about it. He did something like a 13-second announcement video. And there were what they call 5 jump cuts. Some people learn about that term for the first time. What's a jump cut? And you see it. You're watching it, and you just see that little break in it. And you know that those are edits. If I gave you a 13-second script, I am very confident. Maybe you'll do a couple takes. Maybe you're one take, perfection. But you'd get it. You'd nail it. Probably wouldn't even need a script at one point. Record it a couple times, and it wouldn't require jump cuts. But that's another thing that is on the ledger side of something's up. With a teleprompter or cue cards, you should be able to do a 15-second or 30-second announcement that wouldn't have any cuts in it. But this is like, hey, all right, we're going to use that. And then, okay, and then we're going to use that too. And the next thing you know, they're slicing, dicing, and splicing the thing together. No matter what people think they know, no matter what you think you see, there's no way. First of all, he's the president. He's not going to take some order from somebody else saying, hey, we don't have a debate unless you do a drug test. Then he says, hey, we don't have a debate then. I'm not doing a drug test. I don't do drugs. I don't do anything. I'm not doing it. And that's the way that's going to go. So you have one side. And I really think that the president had to say yes because he had been goading Joe Biden to have these debates. So if all of a sudden Joe Biden on a Wednesday, and that's the big scam, is Joe Biden makes announcements on Wednesday, the only day for the past 5 weeks that President Trump is not in court. So that was this past Wednesday was the debate challenge. And he picked where, and he picked when, and he picked how, and the whole deal. You want to debate me? You get Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. And you get some horrible person from ABC or two. And then Trump said yes. But then he came out a day or so later with, I said yes, but you have to take a blood test. And of course, he knows he's not going to get his way. But he knows that at least, we're talking about it. Somebody's going to talk about it. Not the mainstream media. They're Democrats and in the tank. They're not going to talk about it. But it'll get talked about. Social media, conservative media, Fox News will cover it. Newsmax will cover it. The internet, social media, all of it. So it's a tactic, is what it is. All right, let's get the first break in. You can jump in on anything that's on your mind. If it's on your mind, let's put it out onto the floor at 609-407-1450. Wide open forum for the rest of today's program. Let's do this. 609-407-1450. It's Hurley in the Morning.
You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
It's well-balanced conversation.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
I listen every morning.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. 19 minutes past the hour. Thank you for choosing us. Thanks for waking up early in the morning. Thanks for picking South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. I haven't heard anybody else say it quite this way, so let me. This Judge Juan Merchan in New York is very lucky that New York has a law that they do not show trials the way that almost every other state does. Not every state, but most states. Because his behavior in this trial, and evidently he's going to be retiring soon is what I hear, but his behavior of allowing a porn actress to testify and say anything completely unrelated to the case, not allowing the defense to have an expert witness in election law. That's insane. Getting in the way of the testimony of Robert Costello. But Costello still, because he's a lot smarter than Juan Merchan, he still got the jury, to hear what he came for them to hear. But his behavior has been unbelievable. Let me read a social media post by President Trump, and then I'm going to comment further about this. This is word for word, quote unquote. Judge Juan Merchan, who has thus far been the exact conflicted Democrat operative his comrades expected, has a chance to take a real step toward rehabilitating both his reputation and the justice system of New York by dismissing the Biden election interference witch hunt brought by Soros-funded DA Alvin Bragg. Every serious legal expert and scholar is unequivocally stating that, quote, prosecutors have not come close to putting on a case. There is no crime, which means that the right thing to do is to end this scam now and forevermore. It would be a big, bold, beautiful, but highly unexpected yet brilliant step toward justice in New York and our nation as a whole. I like that post, but let me say this, and he knows it too. This Judge Juan Merchan has been on a mission from the beginning, and that mission was to play favoritism towards the prosecution, crush the defense at every turn. I mean, whoever heard of that? They're citing that it's an election case, even though this jurisdiction doesn't even have the authority to hear a federal election case. But none of this matters because the ends justify the means, and it is just completely garbage. And I can promise you this, I don't want to see it come to this, because the only way to prove what I'm about to say would be for Trump to be found guilty, and that would be such an injustice. But if he was, I would guarantee at 100% guarantee, which I never say, that it will be overturned. Because I'm not even a lawyer, and I could count 10 reversible errors at least that have taken place during this trial. I find Juan Merchan to be the worst judge I've ever witnessed. And this is just reading transcripts. I can't imagine watching this guy. First of all, he contributed to Joe Biden. He had an obligation as a judge to not even hear the case. But he ignored that. There's another rule. His daughter is a Democrat operative, and she works with a lot of prominent Democrats. She's been extremely vocal and adverse to President Trump. New York requires you to recuse yourself, even if he didn't make a Biden contribution himself. He's required to recuse himself because of his daughter's activities, of an immediate family member. He didn't do that. So it's one of those deals where he wanted to be on that case. And all the things that would normally make it that I just have to recuse myself, I'm just not permitted to do this case, he's ignored all that. Then you can just see his behavior during the case. And I'll get to your calls in just a moment. Just let me finish this point. 609-407-1450. Phone lines are open early in the morning. I guarantee you he will not. There's a couple things that he should have done already. He made a big mistake, and he apologized to the jury. He admitted he made a big mistake. He should have granted a mistrial. And that's a mess because you had the jury selection, the trial's underway. It's terrible. You know, it's just one of those things, but it happens. But he would have been calling a mistrial on himself. So I guaranteed them what I'm going to guarantee now. I guaranteed he would not agree to the mistrial. He would not approve it. And he did not. He said mistakes were made, but not to the extent that we would do a mistrial at this time. He always leaves open that he's thinking about it, but he's full of it. Now you have a circumstance. He was very, very poor in his handling of the defense witness, Robert Costello. Terrible. They didn't go for a mistrial, though. they have filed for him to dismiss the case because the prosecution did not prove their case. So he said again, I'm not going to rule now. I will take it under consideration. So and they're going to start in 5 minutes. Probably at the beginning of today, he'll announce that he's not dismissing it. It is absolutely apparent to every expert that I've heard that this never should have been brought forward in the first place, that they haven't in 5 weeks. They haven't. The only crime that's been shown is Michael Cohen admitting under oath that he stole $30,000 from Donald Trump. That's bigger than the crimes, I should say plural, that because each one of those checks they make, if you wonder how do they get to 34 counts, because each monthly payment to Michael Cohen, 34 months worth at $35,000 each one of those was a separate count. It's absolute garbage, this case, all the way. There's literally no there. But this Mershon has allowed the prosecution to constantly tell the jury that Trump has committed campaign finance crimes. Nothing could be further from the truth. He's never been charged. There are no crimes, period. But they keep saying it. One time, Mershon told the jury to unhear what they heard. And then, that's humanly impossible. You hear what you hear. And when someone tells you not, hey, you forget you ever heard that, you kind of remember it more by somebody telling you to forget it than if you just left it alone. So this is him, though, just putting on the record, hey, I told the jury not to, to consider that. The trial has been true. You should read some of this if you haven't. It is an abomination. So, I'd give them a chance. It's New York. 90% voted against Trump. They only gave them 10 preemptory challenges. A lot of people got on this jury that they would never have allowed. But once you run out of 10, it's over. You got to take whatever they give you at that point. There was somebody that actually said, I hate Trump. I have written on my social media that he should already be in an orange jumpsuit in jail for the rest of his life. But I can be fair. Mershon almost kept that person on the jury. That's how bad this is. So anybody that thinks they can predict with any, accuracy what's going to happen here, my hunch is that hung jury is the most likely outcome. I think Mershon will bring the case to the jury at all costs. He's not going. He should make a decision. He should rule from the bench that the prosecution failed to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, and I dismiss the charges with prejudice. He should do that, but I guarantee you he won't do that because he's hoping that he tricked a jury into believing that a crime was committed. I've told you the story of Tad DiLorenzo, an Atlantic City policeman who committed no crime. Anytime a case goes to a jury, and these were good people, 3 of them I've known, 2 have died, but 3 of them I knew for decades. They got into the jury room, and there were people that didn't like cops, and they wanted to really go at it and hurt the individual. And so what the good people did, the good people made a deal. They said, well, we'll just find him. We're not voting for any of this other stuff because he's not guilty of that. He was fighting for his life. He's not guilty of any of this stuff. We'll find him guilty of filing a false police report because when they're given jury instructions, they weren't told he loses his career, he loses his pension. And I think the attorney didn't do a great job in letting the jury know that if my client is found guilty of anything, you can't say that, hey, if you find him guilty of some, what you think is minimus thing, that nothing, will happen. He'll be back to work on Monday. You can't say certain things, but you can say it in a different way. And so these good people in the jury, and I interviewed one of them on air at length, said we thought we were doing a good thing. We thought the next jury might be worse. So we agreed. We said not guilty on all these other charges. And that's what they do. They pile on charges with the hope that they just get one. or a few. You don't have to get all 10 if it's 10 or 34. If you get one, you win. So they found him guilty of filing a false police report, which he did not do. But they found him guilty of that. And he died in jail. It's a horrible story. Lost everything, his family, everything. Because that's why I'm saying you don't want it to go to a jury if you can help it. Because anything can happen. Jury nullification against you, anything can happen. And this is New York City. 9 out of 10 not only didn't vote for Trump, hate him. And that's why they didn't approve. Mershon didn't approve. Trump didn't ask to move like states away. He wanted to move like one county away. Give me a chance to have a jury of my peers. Mershon said no, New York City. Because the whole thing, who the judge was, where it was, the whole thing has been rigged. Whether you like or you hate a defendant, you should never want this, what's called lawfare, to happen in our country because it can happen to you next. You don't think so, but it can. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. Thanks for holding on. You're on the air.
Mr. Hurley, good morning. Mr. Mallett, good morning.
Chuck has left the building, but I am here.
Oh, okay. The judges and what's happening to our judicial system, this case is a perfect example. But every other week, it's another story coming from someplace else. The Constitution being thrown out the window and steps being taken or things being done that really should not be done.
Correct.
Is it time?
Well, look, is it a coincidence that Trump finds himself with it used to be like 100. They lost 3. So I think it's now 80. It was 91. Now it's 88 because 3 did get dismissed through some kind of miracle. Is it any just coincidence that Trump is in Washington, D.C., New York City, and Fulton County, Georgia? Is there any coincidence to that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that you're aware of, because there's not a coincidence there. It's on purpose. They're judge shopping. They're venue shopping. They know exactly what they're doing.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Should each state have a tribunal of retired judges that would shut these situations down immediately?
Doesn't work like that. Here's where the checks and balances are. But they're corrupt and they're in on it. This is all Biden and Merrick Garland. In any other America of any other time, if you had a rogue DA that campaigned on, I'm going to take Trump down and anybody in the Trump orbit, I mean, first of all, and I've heard reputable attorneys talk about this, you're not allowed to do that. This is not Stasi Star Chamber trials. This is not Stalin. This is not Beria. Show me the man, I'll show you the crime. A crime is supposed to happen, and then justice is supposed to be served. They picked a man, and then they went in search of crimes. And when they couldn't find them, which was kind of extraordinary, especially somebody with 50 plus years of extensive business, they invented them. So there is no process like you said. What should have happened, Garland should have come in and said, look, knock it off. You cannot try a federal charge in your local court. This is not going to happen. And they should have stopped it. But they're all in on it. So that's why it wasn't stopped. Do you realize, and I don't think a lot of people listening, and I'm not putting anybody down, it's just, this is my job. And your job, it's made tougher than ever over the last 4 years. So I don't expect you to know this. But did you know that that they still haven't said the charge? Until the judge is going to give the charging documents or jury instructions, they have still not said what even allowed this to be in this courtroom, because the misdemeanor charges expired years ago. The only reason that this is even allowed to be in place is because Fat Alvin Bragg said that he is bootstrapping a federal election charge, a campaign finance violation, to the misdemeanors, therefore elevating it to felonious behavior, and that's how he got past the statute of limitations. And you do know the E. Jean Carroll case, New York, and it did it purely for Trump. For 1 year, they opened up a window. Hey, if somebody, put their hands where they don't belong 30 years ago, we're giving you 1 year where the statute of limitations are over and you can file charges. And they got Trump on that too, civilly. I mean, this is so corrupt. It is so bad. They're destroying our entire country. And they don't realize it, that this could be turned on them, in 6 months. But the other side will never do it the way this side does. So they always feel comfortable that the other side has, integrity. And so we don't have to worry like you have to worry. But they're still not even the charge. And here's another thing for you while we're just having fun fact session here. They didn't know who the witnesses were going to be. They didn't know. I do show prep of an hour for every hour I'm on the air. And I'm just a radio talk show host. This guy, they're fighting for a man's freedom, and they didn't know who the next witness was going to be until basically they walk into the courtroom. That's never been done in American history. You get a witness list. You know who the witnesses are. You can do your preparation that you have to do for cross-examination. Here they have to guess, well, they'll probably call Stormy Daniels. We'll see if they call this one. Well, we know they're going to call Michael Cohen. So it's like a scavenger hunt. They got to go figure it out on their own. This is the crookedest thing that I've ever seen.
Well, maybe it's time we start trying to protect the judicial system.
Well, and let me tell you what the answer is. It's not, creating things that don't exist and some of the things that, that you brought up. It's winning elections. I get asked all the time, both on and off air, what are we going to do? We have to win elections. Like Jack Ciattarelli has to be the next governor, and then you wouldn't have a superintendent that has multiple serious child abuse charges showing up to work and going into schools. That's never happened in American history. I've been searching. I cannot find an example of a teacher, a principal, or a superintendent that is charged with child abuse and yet continues to work and goes into the classroom. Okay? So Jack Ciattarelli already said on this program, if he was governor, this individual would be suspended. If the local board didn't do its job, we would have suspended the individual. The state has still not taken action. So this is the same thing. I always say this. It's all the same, whether it's at the local level or at the national level. It's no different. What's happening here is no different than what's happening on the national scene with President Trump. It's all about winning elections. And then when you win elections, you have the power. They have the power right now. And right now I have to say goodbye until we meet again because I've got to get this break in. When we come back, more of your phone calls. You'll be next, as I promised, and you'll be right after that. It is the Hurley in the Morning program. Thanks for being with us.
You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
It's a source I can trust.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the Morning.
If you really want to know what's happening in Atlantic City, it's Harry Hurley every single morning.
WPG
right.
Talk Radio.
She knows.
95.5.
Listen to that lady. She's very wise. I was looking at Bob Gibson's stats in 1968. When you look, I want to say when men were men, this man pitched. Listen to this real quick, then we'll open up the phone lines. I'm going to give a number. That's how many innings he pitched in that particular game. For his season, he pitched 7, 9, 9, 12, 11, 8, 9, 8, 8, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 11, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 10, 8, 9, 8, 8, 9, 9, 9, 9. Now it's like, oh, you're going to pitch 6 innings, and then we have the bridge. Then we have our 6th inning pitcher. Then we have our 7th inning pitcher. Then we have our 8th inning pitcher. And then we have our closer in the 9th inning. I just read 1968 Bob Gibson. He pitched every inning, basically, of every game. No reliever. And never got hurt. Now they pitch less than ever. And remember, I think in those days it was a 4-man rotation. Now it's 5. And they didn't seem to get hurt. And now the pitchers are hurt all the time, so it seems. So get soft, and that's what happens. Welcome to the program. You're on the air. Hi there.
Yes, good morning. I want to bring up yet again Ibrahim Raisi's helicopter going down.
Yes.
Now, it was very foggy. It was very cloudy.
Yeah.
So you can rule out any man-made wind causing it to go down. So you can rule out weather manipulation, that being weather modification. However, there was a convoy of 3 helicopters there with his, and there was no trouble with their helicopter. So maybe it was a defect in the helicopter.
Yeah, well, first of all, I found out since we last spoke, the helicopter was 27 years old. I don't understand. Biden and Obama have given Iran so many billions of dollars. I have no idea why the president and all these other people, you had the prime minister, you had the president, you had the provincial governor, you had all these other people. They're on a 27-year-old helicopter. I don't even understand it. But from second one, when I saw the video, it didn't seem like anything other than bad weather or equipment failure. It just didn't seem like foul play. The other thing, and in our prior conversation about it, the Ayatollah wants the butcher of Tehran to be in that position, so he wouldn't want him out. So I don't really sense foul play.
Well, some are saying that the GPS of that helicopter was thrown off, causing it to expend all its fuel, which caused the crash. But who knows? Yeah. I mean, we're not going to know what's going on. No. We're not meant to know what's going on. But I don't want to bring up weather modification one more time because between August 25th and September 20th, 2017, there were 3 back-to-back hurricanes: Harvey, Irma, and Maria. Coincidentally, or maybe not so coincidentally, when President Trump was in office. Now, if you look it up, back-to-back hurricanes are rare to almost non-existent. However, they're saying because of climate change, you'll see that happen more often. But if you understand that those hurricanes, the trajectory of damage that was done, it was the Caribbean islands, also the Atlantic seaboard of Florida, also the Gulf Coast of Florida, up to Texas, Louisiana, even up to Tennessee. So there were 3 powerful hurricanes, but they got their start off the west coast of Africa, specifically the Cape Verde archipelago of islands. But take note, those islands were not in the trajectory of damage that was caused by those hurricanes. Now, on those islands, it just so happens to be that there's sophisticated 21st century technology being developed with geoengineering. Now, geoengineering is primarily concerned with cloud seeding, where you can actually make clouds rain in desert areas, which is cool.
Are you saying that you think that these hurricanes were man-made type events?
I do, because it's not beyond the pale or beyond possibility. It's actually in reality that scientific laboratories can produce Category 5 hurricanes. Now, that's geoengineering is a part of the weather modification. But who's to say that the weather modification was not used? Because this goes back to the 1950s. Who controls the weather would control everything in the end.
Well, remember, I mean, if you believe, as I believe, that the Ayatollah did not want Raisi dead, then that means somebody below wanted him dead, which is not impossible. But then, of course, you'd have to have access and, proximity and these things. So I don't know. I think it just was old equipment that went down in bad weather, like a Kobe Bryant type thing.
Well, remember, we live in a bizarro, brave new world of COVID 1984. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. Hey, look, I'm up for a good conspiracy. And there are conspiracies, but not everything is a conspiracy. Sometimes, you have a flat tire and you crash and nobody blew out the tire. It's not the John Travolta movie, Blowout or whatever. I think that was the name of it. I don't know how I even remember that. And sometimes it's just, it's just an accident. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Harry. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, Jimmy.
I attribute the helicopter crash to just old-fashioned good luck.
Yeah, bad guy. Go boom, he fall down.
That's it. Simple. Bye. See you.
And incidentally, for those who don't know much about Raisi, we're talking one of the worst people ever in the history of the world. I mean, a monster.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Listen, yesterday you had the Atlantic County clerk on. Am I correct?
Yeah, Joe Girallo. Yes.
Yeah, and when I called, I wanted to know what the judge's name was, and then afterwards, as you know, you have a lot of stuff in your head, so stuff pours out all the time. I didn't get a chance to say that I think we, as a conservative party, we don't like to use the word Republican much anymore, but I think we as a conservative people in this country need to stop bringing knives to a gunfight. Because, and I hate that analogy, but it's the only one that strikes home. We're getting beaten up because and I understand why we want to cross our T's and dot our I's and do it the correct way, do it legally. But we got to get off that horse.
Hey, listen, Jimmy, I made a statement similar to that probably about a half an hour ago, because the other side, I mean, look what they've done with our judiciary. Look at what they're willing to do. I mean, Rudy Giuliani, you know, they bagged him again on his 80th birthday at his party. These are just animals. In fact, I apologize because animals are good. They're monsters. They don't care. So I hear you loud and clear. They are using our judiciary. They are weaponizing every institution of government that they can. Look what they did with Peter Navarro. They wanted to talk to him. His office was literally right next door to the FBI office, but instead they grab him off a plane. They put him in leg irons and handcuffs behind his back. I mean, they're throwing these old men in jail like Weiselberg and Navarro. I mean, this is terrible what's going on.
Yes, and that's why I suggest that Joe Girallo was his name? Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, Joe.
Okay, so I loved what he said. He said wonderful things, but when he spoke about the ridiculousness of this judge's findings, he should have used his name, because Maxine Waters said, "Get in there."
Well, no. He didn't know his name. Remember, I looked it up. He didn't know the judge's name. He had forgotten the judge's name.
Okay, that's my point. He should have known. He should have. Now,
let me be honest. If I showed you the name, you might not even know how to pronounce it. It is a very exotic name, whatever you want to call it. I believe I pronounced it correctly, but it's not the type of name that would be very easy to remember. His first name, no problem. The last name, and I didn't commit it to memory, but I did commit to memory how strange. I shouldn't say strange. How, you know, not strange to him. But not something that we see very often. I've never seen the name before.
And I agree with you, and I do not have a single racist bone in my body.
I understand that. But I wasn't surprised he didn't know the name, is all I'm trying to say.
Okay, but his name immediately made me wonder. How did he get here? How long has he been in my country? Is he a citizen of my country? We had an ex-president, I even hate to attach the name president to Barack Obama, but he unilaterally and illegally packed an entire congressional district in this country by himself.
You're talking about in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew what you were saying without you even saying it, and that's how you get someone like Ilhan Omar and people like this, horrifically bad representatives. Look, there's no doubt about it. It's scary. I will say this: he bears watching, because his decision was so, you can't use the word novel. It was bizarre. He picked only one political party, not the other, and changed the entire way that people will vote. That's very radical what he did.
Yeah. And he'll get a pension. He'll go off into the sunset. This has got to stop. These things, we have to stop rewarding people. Mark Milley should be in jail for what he said to Brett Baer in Arlington Cemetery. Should be in jail. Admitted he called a Chinese counterpart and told them, if this president goes a little off the side, I'll let you know.
Oh, I know. It was terrible. I mean, that was treason. That was absolute treason.
Yep. Treason. He walked off into the sunset. That's what I'm saying. We have got to stop acting like, oh, well, they're going now. Let them go. This is bizarre. It's just bizarre.
Well, it's a really good point, because it's how they always win, because when they're in, they crush you. And then when we win, it's always footsie, play nice. Like when George W. Bush won, he said, we're not doing what they did. We're going to govern. And the other side knows that. So I'm in agreement. I made a decision probably 2-3 years ago that everything that I used to say relative to this kind of thing, I was suspending in favor of doing exactly what they do, exactly how they do it. That's the only way. You have to fight fire with fire.
Yes, and a quick footnote, George Bush was one of them anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
I understand. But back then, he was considered a compassionate conservative.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, well, that's what I got, and thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Good stuff, Jimmy. Thank you.
Bye.
We have time to take another call or so right after the break if you'd like to jump in. It's a pretty short break, and then we'll be back. It is the Hurley in the Morning program. Open409s. Anything that's important to you, we want to hear. 609-407-1450, an open phone line. 609-407-1450. Join us now.
You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
Egg Harbor Township. I'm from Margate.
Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG.
Brigantine.
Pittman. Galloway.
Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station.
For anyone living with everyday aches and pains, there's a lot of things you can try. Tough it out, bite the bullet, grin and bear it. Or you can try something that has helped so many other people, Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that addresses the inflammation where pain starts. And Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain for a short time. It helps reduce or even eliminate it all day, every day. Wherever you're hurting, your back, neck, joints, or muscles, in about 3 weeks or less, you'll see a difference and rediscover what it's like to feel better and live better. So if everyday pain is affecting your life, don't go with the mind over matter approach. Try Relief Factor instead. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning.
Honesty and transparency, not afraid to get down and dirty and really just tell me the truth.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. 57 minutes past the hour. Harry Hurley for Batteries Plus. Now, this is very simple. Many of you know right where Broadcast Center is on Tilton Road. There's a nail salon at the front. You pull right in and you cannot miss Broadcast Center. If you pulled into Broadcast Center, then you know exactly where Batteries Plus is because we share basically. There's a cut through, if you will. If you pulled in here, you could go right to there. If you were here, you could walk right over. And they're terrific, Roy and the team. And when you stop by, please tell them that I sent you. So if you have a car, a truck, marine, RV, camper, golf cart, ATV, mobility, scooter, motorcycle, really anything on wheels and a motor, they've got the battery in stock, and they'll help you dispose of the old one, put the new one in, and they're heavy, so it's really a nice service that they provide. If you need help getting ready for the storm season, if you need LED, emergency lighting, portable generator, or surge protectors, Batteries Plus has them all. I needed them for this. I wasn't happy with the charge that my H phone was holding, so I went over to Batteries Plus. While I waited, they put the brand new battery in, and it was like the phone was brand new all over again. They'll do the same for you. They'll do it while you wait. If you have a broken screen, if you have the broken port, the charging port, the microphone inside, the speakers, pretty much anything that's inside a phone, they can fix it. Batteries Plus, and we fix it. 900 Tilton Road in Northfield, Route 73 in Mount Laurel. Stop into one of the locations and enter to win a pair of tickets to see Journey and Def Leppard. Tell Roy and the entire team at Batteries Plus that Hurley in the Morning sent you. Oh, this is great because if this was a normal, typical morning show, we'd be out of here in 30 seconds. However, we have until Brian Kilmeade. So let's make it count. If you want to jump in, 609-407-1450 phone lines are open. Now, I don't often do this, but I'm going to take a split decision, basically. I really like what Robert Costello, the defense witness, has to offer because he can truthfully say that Michael Cohen told him that Donald Trump had done nothing wrong, and that he said, look, because he was Michael Cohen's legal advisor, he was his attorney. He said, I can get you out of this in a week. You'll be in no jeopardy, but you have to have something on President Trump. He said, I don't have anything. He hasn't done anything. And he said, then they were talking about the Stormy Daniels thing, and Michael Cohen told Robert Costello, I did that. That was me. He didn't even know about it. So it's really enticing. It's you want to put that type of reasonable doubt in the minds of the jury. However, you have to also understand that the prosecution then gets to redirect. So guess what? That means you open up Costello to, and this Judge Juan Merchan, when it's adverse to Trump, he lets anything go. I mean, he let go if Trump uses condoms. I mean, nothing was off limits. Here on the Trump side, he couldn't even get an expert witness that's an expert in the Federal Election Commission laws. So Costello, in case you didn't know, represented Rudy Giuliani in the past. Now, what would that have to do with this? Nothing, except Merchan lets anything in when it's Trump, and he proved it in this case. So he would have done that, and maybe today we're going to get to prove that. So I'm going to make a prediction. Here's what I believe. If you win, you don't have to win more than once. So as tempting as it was to put Costello on the stand, I wouldn't have done it. I'm not totally criticizing the move because he gave the jury an incredible amount of reasonable doubt. But he now, when they're done, the defense is done, the prosecution gets to have at him. Now, they were done. Their case is over. They didn't prove anything. They lost. So I think this was a mistake of trying to win the case twice when you already won it once. And I predict, I don't know what it's going to be. If I had to take a guess, it'll be something about Rudy Giuliani or something like that. They're going to bring up something. I call it the law of unintended consequences. Something is going to come up that wouldn't be able to come up if you didn't put him on the stand. I would have definitely brought the FEC guy in, but Merchan is not allowing that, which is a disgrace. Again, it's another reversible error. If Trump is convicted, there's 10 or 20 of them. This case was handled so incredibly corruptly and poorly. This is one thing. If it's just an incompetent judge, you say, all right, we're just going to beat you on appeal. But this guy, this was super extra special, what this Juan Merchan has done during this case. So you now given the prosecution, which was dead, every witness they had, including Michael Cohen, absolutely disastrous, you now give them a chance to have at Robert Costello. And one thing I will say, and this is it's not 100% truth, but in many cases, when someone is really smart, and Costello is, when they're really smart, they're the ones you get in trouble. Not the one that's worried about, I don't think I'm that smart. I don't think I'm going to. It's usually the one that's super smart, like a Michael Cohen, for example, thought he was the smartest guy in the room. Now, of course, he had a lot of, areas of attack, but he was eviscerated. I think the prosecution, and Costello has already shown that he's got a bit of a short fuse, and there's a reason for that. Powerful guy, used to being able to do whatever he wants and doesn't do well in settings like Mershon knew what he was doing. When he cleared the courtroom and he said all that stupid stuff to Costello, he was like messing with Sasquatch. Exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. It wasn't just his thin skin. Some of it was that. But he knew exactly what he was doing. He was trying to get the witness off his game and make him unlikable before the jury. Oh, my God. The judge had to clear the courtroom because of this savage. This is terrible. This guy's terrible. So you disqualify the person, and then anything that they offer. Look, I know what's going on here. I know a rigged game when I see it. And this one is big time rigged. So let's wait. It'll be later today, and we'll come back tomorrow and muse about it. But I think something, an unforced error is going to happen. Not that the attorney made any mistake with anything he did, but by bringing this guy in, the other side gets a crack at him. So it's like, Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, pick a, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, pick a stud. And would you give them another chance if you already struck them out? Would you give them another chance? Catcher's interference. Would you give him another chance to bat? That's where I think the mistake was. So the value of Costello is immense. The downside of the unknown is unlimited. That's the problem. I would have left it alone and just done the closing summation, send it to the jury, and look, if it's a jury nullification, if the game is rigged, it doesn't matter what you do.